Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and we are live today with Marine X. How you doing, Marine?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. How you living? How's life?
I'm doing well. Why don't you give the audience a little backstory of you? I do have you linked in the description so they can easily find you, but give them a little backstory so they can just kind of catch up really quick, just in case if they don't know exactly who you are. But definitely go and subscribe to his channel and give him a follow and check out his content. But yeah,
okay. And before I kick the backstory, I'm looking at YouTube. I want to make sure it's hot because folks are putting like it's time. Are you you see the YouTube link? Is it running?
I didn't kick it off yet. It should be. It's usually within like 10 seconds. So
Got you. I'm gonna just kick it like everything is copacetic. So yeah, man. So my name overall, Marine X. My real name's Dion. But the backstory is I was in the Marine Corps from about 8 years. And while in the Marine Corps, I was significantly introduced to this term everyday carry, but it wasn't called that. It was just, this is the shit that you will carry freaking every day because we told you so, right? So
I want to ask you about some of that stuff too here in a minute.
Okay, yeah. So, you know, and some of the stuff I still have, some of the stuff I wish I still had, but before that, my most familiarity when it came to like everyday carry stuff was like mossy oak with tip down only, and I had no clue that how like shitty that was for a carry for a knife. But I took those experiences in the Marine Corps, traveling around the world, and I kind of just came out into civilian life, and it kind of led to I'm always hunting, and so I really started my YouTube channel for hobby. It's still a hobby. It's a side gig for me, 100%. And just to talk about mostly man cave shit, EDC, prep, survival.
Have you always hunted?
No, I started hunting in the Marines. So other Marines
really?
that had, yeah, I'm from Cleveland.
I mean,
Ohio,
besides humans.
You said what now? Besides
humans, yeah.
Well, you know, besides, yeah, exactly right. No, I guess for me personally, I'm from East Cleveland, Ohio. I'm from the hood. And so like I didn't know what hunting was. Like I knew none of that stuff. So moving to Dallas and then moving to Dallas and joining the Marines, I had Marines who had hunting backgrounds who just took me out. You know, I didn't even know what the term whitetail meant and all that type of shit. So I kind of learned it.
Yeah, I grew up in the projects myself, but my dad was a hunter. My grandma had a farm. So so I had places that I could go and do those things, you know. So I kind of grew up hunting and you know, doing all different types of stuff. But so you're carry in the Marines. What did that look like as far as like the knife you carried and stuff like that? I know you kind of spoke on it a second ago, but, but I kind of want to talk a little bit more about that.
So I still have one. Let me grab it real quick, man. So we got issued a lot of companies compete for contracts with the Marines, and one of them was Gerber and SOG competed heavily. So one of the knives that we had was the Gerber Fast Tanto Auto, the 06 Auto, which is the partially serrated blade with the aggressive Tanto that we carried for quite a few years. And we carried this CONUS, CONUS meaning like in the States. And you also got issued this if you were going to be going to Afghanistan or to Iraq. And so leaving the Marine Corps, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I went to Afghanistan, but so I got permission upon leaving the Marines to take this with me. It's a beater type of knife. It has S30V, and it's Josh Smith sharpened it for me a couple of weeks ago. I went to a Montana knife company happy hour, and he sharpened it for me because I hadn't sharpened it in years. I just was nervous about the partial serrations, and
yeah, it's tough.
He did it on a paper wheel, which I've never seen before, and but I like it. It's a beater. It has a built-in glass breaker, which is nonsensical. It's almost pointless and useless. But so this type of stuff would be issued. We had SOG multi-tools, which I was not able to take. But so you would get stuff like that. So the stuff that's like SOG and Gerber give to active duty troops is completely different from the stuff they give the civilians. And you can just tell because of the way the contracts are written. In the Marine Corps, I wrote contracts. and so they have to meet to those specifications.
How did you keep it sharp in the field, or in Afghanistan or wherever you are ever based? Like how do you keep your edges sharp? Like, is that a thing, or you guys just dull them and throw them away and get new ones?
The second part. So it would make sense if we did, right? We have a whole like process for our freaking rifles. Like we're not going to just let carbon build up and them to rot away. We carbon scrapers and stuff. But for knives, whether they're K-bars or pocket knives or even bayonets, which no one really uses, but they're still in the armory. The armors are responsible for sharpening stuff, but they will much prefer to just reissue you something brand new because they're already busy enough worrying about pistols and rifles.
Yeah. I would imagine like if it was a thing, they would actually have to sit there and pay somebody, and they'd probably cost them more to pay somebody to sharpen than it would to just replace some of them. And just depending on the knife you're using. So how many different knives did you go through during your time when you were overseas?
So overseas, just literally only two. I had one that I was issued. So I joined the Marines in 06, and I achieved the rank of sergeant in 2000 and I think it was 2010. Right, and I was supposed to go to Iraq. They gave me a smallpox shot, and then they changed their mind, and I ended up not going to Iraq. But I still got issued that was the first time I got the Gerber fast hand toe. So from 06 to 10, I didn't know they existed. And mine kind of really got beat through the dirt. We do this thing called police call, which is when you just literally walk around and pick up trash. And I think it fell out of my trousers when I was on a police call one day. And so in Afghanistan, no matter what the mission was, you rarely are pulling out a knife except for prying or light cutting, but that's not the primary go-to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question. Like, what did you guys like use your knives for over there? Like, what was like the typical thing?
Mostly on base. So I was on Camp Leatherneck. So my job in the Marine Corps was a contracting officer. So what that means is I write contracts for all sorts of shit, everything from rental cars to like pigs to freaking wells that go 200 feet under the earth so that Marines can drink water, because there's certain parts of Afghanistan that we cannot bring water to the Marines because the route is too dangerous. So in order but we need Marines at those FOBs, or those 4 operating bases, places like Camp Hansen, which is an all male FOB, but they need to drink water. So I would come in and write a contract for local Afghans to build a well 200 feet.
So you'd have them do it.
Yeah,
they would build it. Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Well, it was normally
like, how is it, how you get the pipes and everything in there, if it's too dangerous, but that makes sense then.
Yeah, we would tap the earth and drink the water from there. So I would write those contracts.
I seen I'm sure you know who what's his name? Sean Ryan. He's a military guy. He's on YouTube. He's got a huge platform. He brings a lot of combat veterans on his channel and talks to them about some of their missions and so on. And there was a guy I was watching. He was interviewing the other day, and he asked him if he ever had to use his blade in combat, and the guy said multiple times, which was interesting to me. I couldn't believe they said multiple times. I figured he would have said like maybe once, if that at all. And he went through one of the times because Sean was asking him to explain one of the times, and he was talking about like they were on top of a building or something like that, and he goes into all the details. You guys can look it up, anybody who wants to see it. It's a really cool watch, and to hear him, and he talks about the spots, like he calls them like what's he called, switches and timers. So basically, like certain parts of your body, it's going to be a switch, it's going to turn you off, right? And then there's other parts of your body where it's a timer, like you have a timeline. So if you get that part of the body, whether you shoot it or cut it, there's going to be a time limit before anything happens, so you're going to have to continue fighting, right?
Right.
So he kind of went through that, and talked about how because like Sean was asking a bunch of questions about it, and he was saying like how, if you don't hit a switch, like you'd be surprised how long sometimes it can take, and how much somebody can continue fighting, basically, even though they have a deadly wound and they're gonna die, right? They're gonna, but it's gonna take some time. And yeah, it was fascinating to me. Listen to it. Did you ever hear of anything like that at all? Did you ever hear of anybody having to pull their knife in combat or anything like that?
Yeah, so to be frank about me, for the type of stuff that I was doing, that was a low case scenario that something like that would happen. So that would be for like recon Marines, infantry Marines, folks who are kicking indoors, checking roofs, stuff like that.
Right.
So those Marines would take me out to different destinations. But if we had engagement, you know, we're engaging folks from 100 meters, from 300 meters, normally with the 50 cal that's on top of an MRAP. Or something like that. So my use case mostly is for prepping for a mission on base, whether I'm, you know, if I have SIF gear, if I have IPs or Irish pendants or stuff on my gear that needs to be maintenance, you got a knife for that. But once we leave the wire, once we actually leave the base, like my knife was probably my last thought. However,
of course,
in the Marine Corps, I was a Marine Corps martial arts instructor.
Okay.
For several years. So,
well, I was going to ask you that too.
Shit,
did you guys have to train like, I mean, obviously you guys train combat, but knife combat or anything like that, or hand-to-hand combat?
It depends on your level. Out of boot camp, you are taught basic. You become a tan belt. You're taught basic hand-to-hand combat. If you decide you want to progress in levels, then we do start to introduce knives. And when we do that, we introduce knives with electric tips, and you get, you know, you actually get shot by them. Yeah,
I seen a video on that. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Oh yeah, yeah. Because I know, you know, like the whole goal is to hopefully get back to your weapon. I know who was it? Dirk Pinkerton. Dirk Pinkerton had somebody come to him to design a knife. I actually have the knife he designed, and I forget what the guy was, but you know, he was a veteran, and he got into a situation where he kicked in a door, and how'd it go? He instantly got his firearm grabbed or something like that, and there was multiple guys, and he couldn't get to his secondary weapon, right, without fighting. So he was trying to find a blade that he could pull with his non-dominant hand so that he could grab his secondary weapon. And that's what Dirk Pinkerton helped design, like specific for like that type of situation, you know, where you know you've got multiple people around you, can't take them all out, you know, as fast as you'd like, and they're already on top of you, grabbing your gun and trying to take it from you.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that type of like scenario for. So when I was in the Marine Corps, I progressed to a brown belt instructor. Next level is black belt, and then you start adding just black belt with different colors and all that other type of stuff. And that type of high intensity training is something you start to learn when you go up into those levels. So I trained to it, but I never trained people about it. And I never had to deploy it, never had to use it, which, you know, 190,000 Marines when I was in at the time, you know, a small percentage of them is actually having to deploy, and then even smaller percentages having to put rounds down range. So
what year were you, were you there?
I was in Afghanistan and almost all of 2010.
Okay.
Going into 2011. I came back April. Yeah, I came back April in 2011.
What year did everything, because I don't remember, what year did everything kind of start settling down?
So by settling down, we started pulling out a lot of troops. That was after I got out, though. I got out in 2014. I think they started pulling out a lot of troops under Trump. I know Obama, they still had a lot. And then obviously they finished all of them up under Biden. But for us, while I was out there, because I had multiple deployments. My main deployment was Afghanistan, but I went to a lot of other countries. Because I was in Jordan when Syria popped off and shit like that. So
what happened there?
So the Syrian civil war happened there, and it's still going on right now, but it initially started in 2011. 2012, I was deployed to support Marines all over the world, and I was in Jordan, and I had to be emergency evacuated because I was right near the Syrian border. So they're still at it over there. I think their civil war is still going on. No one.
So it wasn't happening when you first got there, but it wound up popping off while you were there, so they had to get you out.
No, so what happened was it popped off in 2011. I got out there in 2012. They found out that American soldiers, sailors, and Marines were in Amman, Jordan.
Okay.
And when they found that out, they started trying to target us from Syria.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I got a couple little questions here. But you know, I just figured we would just you know, go off the cuff and just shoot the shit.
Yeah.
So your channel, man, your channel's doing really well. What do you plan on doing with it? Do you have any like goals or anything?
No.
Just Just winging it.
So overall, so like to be honest with you, people ask me all the time, are you excited about 100,000? Are you excited? Like honestly, man, just for me personally, I kind of post when and what I want. No, I don't have a schedule. I do try to feed my channel members content early and give them behind the scenes type of videos. But as for like immediate go, I don't intend to take it full time. You know, I just can't imagine that Mrs. X would be okay with me doing it full time and leaving.
Why though? Why?
Mainly because my job, my career is it pays significantly more than YouTube, and maybe it will catch up one day, but that's one issue. It
could be possible,
yeah. And but the second reason is I have so much tenure built up with my job. To just let that go, you know, it's just hard to do, you know.
I could see, because I know like you know, some other guys in the community, they're retired, so you know, they do it full time because they're retired, so they have the time. But I would say stick with it as long as you can, but eventually, if you wanted to, right, just like anything, you know, it's how you treat it. If you treat it full time, it's going to treat you full time. So you know, I know when the day I went full time, because I was making more money than I was making where I was working, and I wound up starting to lose money, and I was worried that something bad would happen, so I continued working for like 5 or 6 months, losing money going to work. I literally wasn't even making a dime. I was losing more money than working. So I finally, after like 5 or 6 months, I said, okay, I just need to quit this damn job. There's no point. I'm paying to go to work.
Right.
So I did. And then once I decided to pull that trigger, you know, that's when everything, you know, really started blowing up. But it was because, you know, I could devote more time. And
when was that? Like where you at subscriber wise? Subscribers don't really matter, but like views wise and all that other stuff.
Right, exactly. It's more about the views. But I was probably right around where you're at right now when I decided to take it full time, and it just blew up. It just kept going. I did have one video. Well, I had multiple videos in a row that did very successful. That definitely helped massively.
Right.
But besides that, though, just having the catalog of videos over a couple years, it all adds up. You know, so over time, it just keeps on going and going and going. And then obviously you get more affiliates, you know, and you get better at editing, you get better at this, better ideas, all kinds of stuff. So it just continues to keep stacking. And it definitely, you know, you definitely have an opportunity to do very well in this community, especially with what you're doing, because, you know, obviously, you know, you do great content. You're great at editing, putting it together. The way you speak is really well, you know, really good. Like as far as like your topics and your transitions and all that stuff, like it works out really good. Your voice sounds great on the mic. So like, I have no doubt that if you wanted to, man, you couldn't be super successful in this field.
Well, I appreciate that. I think for me, what I do is I literally track every hour that I work on YouTube. I use this thing called Toggl, Toggl. It's an app. And I track everything, whether I'm writing ideas, filming A-roll, B-roll.
What was that called again? I'm going to write that down. What was that?
Toggl. Yeah, Toggl. It's called Toggl Track. It's in App Store and it's available everywhere. But basically, it works across all your devices. If you start Toggl on your iPhone, it continues to track any device you touch. But the reason I do that is I want to know, like, how many hours am I spending doing shit? So, like, you know, so for me, I know how many hours it takes me to make a YouTube video. And then I can like divide that in my head about how it performed, or if I do affiliates or whatever. I'm like, man, I would have to significantly step it up because of the number of hours I put in one video is so heavy, or scale down the quality of my videos. I would have to make a decision. You know?
Yes, right. That's literally the hump I'm trying to get over right now, because I want to make these super high quality videos that take a lot more time, but then I have to cut back on half the videos I'm posting. So I have to choose like which one, like which one's worth the squeeze, right? Is it going to be the majority of the content, or is it going to be the quality of the content? And right now I'm deciding towards quality of content. Like I'll still have videos I can quickly get up, but there's no possible way for me to post the amount I was posting. However, I'm hoping over like a year, if I focus on really high quality videos, then people will expect that.
Yeah.
And I believe the views will be quadruple what I normally get, you know, based off of quick videos, right? Because quick videos might not be as entertaining, they might not be as detailed. So having the detailed ones, and I know which ones those are. Like when I post videos, I know which ones are going to do pretty well over a year, right? Even if they don't wrap the jump, like after when I come back to it 3 months later, they're killing it. So I kind of know which ones those are, but the thing is that they take so much more time to create.
Yeah, so I always have to make a decision between evergreen content, which you're talking about, and then day one content, which is like, I'm under embargo, here's this, and then no one cares about it anymore, right? So I avoid under embargo shit. That's why a lot of brands won't work with me. Because I have if on my website, you can see my ethics statement I send to every brand, and if they don't agree to it, I won't work with them. And so, in my ethics statement basically says, if you send me a product, I don't owe you shit. And if you choose to send me a product and you don't get a video, don't be butthurt over it because I sent you my ethics statement.
Right.
So that's the big thing. And so a lot of brands just decide that they don't want to work with me because of that. Because, you know, I get it. You're sending me a product that's worth you know, I have a generator worth $3,000, which a company sent me, and it has never made my channel, and it won't make my channel because I think it's good, but it just seems a little out of place sometimes. So I can get that as well.
I've definitely said yes to some things that that after I did not want to make a video on. But I agreed to it, so I still did it. And that is tough. But I also have had stuff where I've just told them no after, because I said, you know, like for whatever reason, like I don't like it, like this isn't going to go good or whatever. But normally I try to bring it to the market's attention, good or bad, and that's kind of the thing. And then I always make sure that they know that, like that I want to be honest about it. So, you know, just know that you're taking a risk, basically, you know, because I could drag it and it could hurt the company, which has happened many times. But you know, it gives them an opportunity to fix it and make it right. And the good ones do. The good ones like appreciate it, and they try to upgrade the product or fix it, because that's their goal usually, right? Is to make a good product for the most part, not all.
I can understand. I had a company that recently sponsored a video, and at the end of the video, I recommended that you don't buy it because of the price. But see, my policy with these companies is, even if you sponsor a video, which means you paid me money, right? That's what it means for me. You don't get to view the video before anyone else. So they had no clue what was coming until I posted it. And so they were upset about it. But they've decided to continue to work with me because they understand, like, hey, but for you sending me this shit, I wouldn't have bought it. And I think other folks should know about that as well, if that makes sense.
I won't change anything about what I like. I won't agree to anything. Like that's one thing. Like if they ever send me a terms of agreement, like the one thing has to be on there that I can say whatever I want. And you know, the result is going to be the result, whatever it is.
You're an artist. You're an artist.
And I know I've never, I think maybe like one time I sent the thing, you know, to the company before I posted it, but they didn't ask for it. I just did it just to do it. But usually I don't, though. And I've definitely had some of them, you know, not get upset, I guess, but they know it hurt them a little bit. But
I mean, I've had to send it to a couple of companies, but they were unrelated to EDC. It was like VPN shit. And they just want to make sure that I'm legally saying the right crap. But other than that,
I won't. That's the thing, is I won't take a sponsor from a company that has anything to do with EDC. So like if it has anything to do with everyday carry stuff or anything that I would actually like review on the channel, if I'm reviewing it, I can't take your money. And I've had many of them try, and I have to refuse. I have to refuse because it's a conflict of interest. Now, if you're wanting me to talk about a video game, or you know, like the other day, the Yes Soul bike, I'll fucking do that. I didn't get paid to do that, but I'm just saying I would do that. Like that would be something I would do. I haven't done that. We've only done like a couple sponsors. Like we did a meal plan thing. You know, like it wasn't Factor, but that's the one I buy weekly right now. I actually enjoy it a lot. So as far as your knife collection, what size is it right now?
So pause. How big is it? So it's probably around 50 knives. So at the end of every year on my channel, I do what's called a gluttonous yard sale. So I'm very
gluttonous right now.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
So if you go back in December, I have a video where I had an EDC yard sale. And what I do is I post a video, I say the price, I post everything, and I send, if you want to buy the product, I'll send you an invoice, or I have a section on my website where you can just buy the product outright. And I have a yard sale, and people get stuff at amazing deals, right? Because it's a lot of things that are hard to find. I'm sending gold class Benchmades and stuff like that out to folks. It's hard to get their hands on. And then I get the free up gear. I mean, I'll end up with a ton of bags, a ton of crap. So I try to cap myself off at 50 knives. That includes, you know, the shitty Smith & Wesson and Walmart brand as well. Like because I like to practice sharpening with the TSPROF on those, because I don't care if I jack it up.
Which TSPROF do you have?
The Pioneer.
We'll go back to that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like I'm not, because I'm not relative. I want to get better at, and I watch your content to get better at sharpening and versus always sending it to the company for a spy service. I get beater knives to figure out, how do I find the angle? What grit should I start with? I go read Reddit, or I go, if the website, if sometimes the company will give a suggestion of where you should start, and I'll go from there as well. So even though they're beaters, they're part of my 50 knife collection. And until they get, like there's a Boker Magnum that is, it needs to go. It's really, the push button is completely shitty, but I won't let it go, because I'm just like, it has steel and I can sharpen it, so why not?
Yeah. I get those tendencies too, man. I've had knives that are absolute dog shit. I might as well throw them away, and I still keep them around because I feel like I could use them for parts or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong. Like I said, the one I did a post on Instagram, and I showed like 60% of my knife collection, which it's embarrassing. It's way too much. I give a lot away though. Let's just be clear. I give away twice a month on the channel to the members right now, and I do other giveaways, and I give away, you know, a lot to, you know, just even people to contact. Sometimes I'll just send them shit. But
how many knives are you rocking right now?
I probably got over 1,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, hold on, wait.
Like,
So
like I said, it's ridiculous.
So if you did a knife tour, how many hours would it take?
It would take probably 8 hours.
And how do you keep it in a husky? Like,
no, I keep them organized, so I have each company individual. So I have like my collection, like I got them everywhere, really. Like I got a wooden chest over here that's completely full, and I got shelves just layered. But I try to keep everything in a box, like organized. So like this company's knives are here, this company's knives are here, and then I'll keep about 150 of them out. The ones I'm testing.
What does it mean to be out though? Like on a bench or in
just like right now, I have like 5 or 6 knives, 7 knives around me. The one I did a video on, one I'm testing, and you know, like over here, I got boxes of knives that just came from a video. So like I got to put them back. So I have like different ones, because some nights I'm not really testing, right? And I'm honest about that. Like I'm just checking them out, giving my first impressions on them, and that's it. Like I'm not testing them or nothing, but I do a lot of testing on knives, but I obviously can't test them all.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, you know. Like,
and another reason that a lot of knife companies don't send me stuff is because I don't know what it means for me to test, right? So for me, my knife usage is probably common to other folks, which I have a hoarder house. I have a series on my channel called a hoarder house. I bought a hoarder house from a lady who the house is probably was worth over 800,000, and she was about the city was about to be taken. Her house was about to be taken by the city, so we got it for a crazy fire sale.
Good for you.
But that also included, she didn't close the garage door for 20 years, so there was all sorts of animals in the garage. She didn't, you know, there was rats, there was mice in the HVAC system. But my story is I do a lot of DIY, but my knives are for light duty work. So if I'm doing sheetrock work in my bathroom, for instance, a knife can cut if I need to make a quick cut of that, right? But sometimes it gets left around, like cutting of light plastics, cutting of cardboard, of tape, and hopefully the knife is coated so tape doesn't gunk up the knife, zip ties and shit like that. And so that's a common use for me. And then I go hunting a few times a year, and when I go out there, I bring a knife that's more beefy because I may do stupid stuff with it, like mess with tree bark and stuff like that. But so if it would be hard, so like when companies would ask to send me stuff, and I would just let them know, like, I'm willing, VOSTEED or KUBEY, or they'll send me stuff out of Civivi, We Knife, they'll send it, and it rarely makes the channel. Just because I just don't have a method of testing, if that makes sense.
You should just, so like what I do is it's just a first impressions. It's just basically talking about the action, how it feels, the geometry, because a person looking at a picture right online, they can't see the geometry. They can't see how slicey it is. They can't feel it in their hand. They can't slip the clip in their pocket. And like clips today, man, some of them are fucking hit or miss, man.
Yeah, they are.
Like,
yeah,
they drive, some of them drive me nuts. And then like the little details. So they're not so worried about like the full testing. They just want to know, like, is this knife, you know, a good knife? Like, just, you know, out of the box, is it a good one? So that would be like a first impressions. And then like when I do my testing,
and I've seen your testing,
I try to cut specific stuff. And I try to, you know, I recently got a microscope. I'm going to start using that a lot more on the channel. But that I try to cut specific stuff if I'm going to talk about it, because like the things I cut, like say if I cut something like a piece of aluminum or something, right? Obviously the edge is going to go dull. I didn't get no result from that. But if I can, like recently I did one on LMAX where I just tested the factory edge. It wound up microchipping all to hell, which showed me that it was just a burnt edge. I resharpened it, and to make sure that the heat treatment wasn't bad, I resharpened it and did basically the same test, and it didn't chip. It was fine. So it just needed a good sharpening because a lot of factory edges are burnt, right? But this is also a common thing that people in the community, a lot of people don't even know. They'll get a knife and it'll be brand new and they'll use it and it starts chipping and they think it's just going like there's something wrong with it, or like, you know, or the thing just goes dull fast. And it's like, no, it's just the edge that was put on it from the factory. It was burnt. It was heated up too much. So you just need to put your own edge on there, and then that thing will last a lot longer.
See, like, I didn't know that because I had a Tops Knives mini scan defolder with LMAX. I got it, and it started to happen, and I sent it to Tops and say, hey, what's going on with this? And they sent it back, and it's been great ever since. But I've had knives that are in crew wear. Like I've had a Benchmade Mini Adamas, which did the same thing. And I thought this is weird, but I had a full size Adamas, both in crew wear, and it didn't. So I was like, this is odd. Maybe it's the coating is different.
About 30% of knives come with a burnt edge. And it's just when they're sharpening them. So any factory, they sharpen on a belt, and the belt is going fast. Some factories, like say Tactile, their belt doesn't go fast. It's a slow moving belt. So it's not possible for them to burn it. But a lot of companies, like you can watch videos online, like there's companies that'll be throwing fucking sparks. And if that's happening, they're burning it. So if the edge heats up higher than what the heat treatment was, it's compromised. And especially because it's thin right there, right? The thinner the steel is, the faster it's going to heat up. So it's impossible to not happen unless if they're cooling it or dipping it in water, which takes more time, which costs more money. So in order to get the product out fast, you know, they do fast sharpening.
And I could understand getting it out fast because I live near Tactile. I'm about 10 minutes away from my house. And so I did a factory tour of them, and I saw the belts. They have multiple belts, which they just keep different grits on all of them, so they can just move the knife instead of having to move the belt or whatever. But the company that sold him the machine was at Blade, Texas, and he was trying to sell me one. I was like, well, why would I buy one? These are $1,000 sharp. Why would I buy one of these? You know, and but he, you know, they wanted it on the channel and shit like that. But I didn't understand that concept until I talked to the manufacturer of why Tactile bought so many, and he was like, you know, they want them at different RPMs and they want different grits and all the other stuff. So I
was impressed when I went and did filmed their place, and when I was watching the sharpening, because I'm normally prepared to see the worst. So when we were getting to that part of the sharpening, I was wondering, like, you know, what am I going to say, right? Like, 'cause it's hard for me to hold back sometimes. Not that I probably would have said anything, but I definitely would have put it in my video, you know, and probably talked about it. I'm not sure. But when I seen it, I was super impressed because like it wasn't possible for it to heat up. Like you could clearly see the
process.
It was awesome. And it'd be awesome if a lot of more companies did it like that. But
see, you have that knowledge because when they showed me the process, I didn't know what I was looking at. I mean, I knew they were sharpening a knife that had just came from those big ass Swiss machines that they got, but you know, I didn't connect those dots, and I still have that footage. I don't know if I'll ever put a video together, but you know, I do want to do more factory too. I wouldn't mind going to more of these companies that are micro brands that are getting bigger, the Nutsacks of the world, Waterfeld, bad companies, Vertex, and just kind of show peel back the onion.
I thought about that too. There's a couple companies, like there's one actually in the Chicago area I was thinking about going and checking out. Because I'm interested in that stuff, and I like doing that, you know, checking out their place, especially if they open it up to you and allow you to come and film and stuff like that. I also thought about I don't know if I'm going to make this happen, but I'd like to. I thought about going around and trying to meet up with other content creators and do like a collab video. I've done it with a couple channels, but it'd be nice to like set up like a thing, you know, like this year I'm going to go visit, you know, this person, and this person, you know, and actually set up content. Like one I reached out to, and I still might do it. We didn't set no plans or anything, but ShivWorks.
Yes.
Yeah. So they do all that combat stuff. I was gonna go there and let them kick my ass and, you know, film it. I thought it'd be fun as shit. So
no, that makes sense, especially if they're not exactly in the EDC niche. To kind of cross over makes like a ton of sense.
Yeah, and both parties, you know, they'd be beneficial, you know.
So when you gonna get the ball rolling on that? You just gonna get that?
I don't know. So I talked to him.
Stay in your head, or you gonna implement?
I don't know. I talked to those guys, and they don't. How do you say it? They don't do like. So what they do is they travel. They don't have like a place. So I thought this is what I thought. I thought they had a location that you could go to. They don't have that. They literally go state to state and do like events, kind of like a concert, I guess you could say. Where they're traveling,
kind of like a moving karaoke show.
Yeah, so like I'd have to catch them. As far as other people, I don't know. Like I honestly, I should set it up. I think it'd be fascinating. I think it'd be interesting. I think the audience would like it too.
Yeah.
And then maybe even like set up like things to do. I don't know, you know, like what's it called? Like say if you go to, I don't know, a Bass Pro Shop or something, you do like a challenge, you know, like you got $50, see who can get the best EDC, you know, for $50. Like
I thought about, so you know, I was going to give Mrs. X $1,000.
Okay.
And I was going to take her to either Bass Pro or Dick's or REI and say, I want you to put together an EDC loadout. And you can't ask me for advice. You can ask other customers, or you can ask employees for advice. But I want to know, what would she put together?
Right.
And so,
well, does she know about anything? Like, do you share stuff with her? Or?
So we have a podcast called the Mantuary Podcast, which season 2 will be starting soon. And on the podcast, we talk daily events, but we have different segments where we do knife news. But one of the podcasts, we had her choose her EDC knife live, and I set out 7 knives. And she went with aesthetics first, right? She was like, "Oh, she liked the Benchmade 945, the black and blue Osborne, because of the way it looks. It looked pretty. She liked the Wee Knife Banter because it looked nice and blue." And so that type, she's an interior designer, so she uses it on construction. She goes to construction sites every day to make sure that the tradesmen are building to her design. And sometimes she has to cut some stuff, rarely, but she might have to cut a box of tile open or something like that. But the buck stops there. I put out so much content, so many live streams, so many videos, and she's just like, we got 5 kids. So it's just like, it's either watch the kids or watch your videos. Which one you want me to do?
So is the channel, what's the channel about?
My channel overall?
The couple's channel.
Oh, no. So no, we do it on my channel. I don't like.
Oh, you do it. Oh, okay. So it's not separate.
No. So I do Man Cave Mondays live stream every Monday, but whenever the Mantuary Podcast is in season, we just take over Man Cave Mondays. And we do Mantuary Podcast, which is just giving really advice from, we interview people, but we just give advice from a couple. We talk EDC stuff, but we just talk about world event shit too.
So what, out of all the, you know, the knives that you like and that you've, you know, used or whatever, what style knife is your style? Like, I feel like we all have a style.
So my favorite style is probably a lockback. I like the deliberate opening. I like that it feels very secure, almost as if I have a full tang in my hand whenever I'm using it.
Yeah.
And I just like the fact that, you know, it makes you more deliberate with whenever you have it. The only downfall is it's kind of hard to keep your hand on a workpiece and open a lockback unless it's a, you know, so if like today I'm carrying a lockback, and if I was held on a workpiece I need to cut and I was trying to open a buck, I have a Buck 112 Pro. It would be difficult, like, to me to one hand freaking to monster this thing open one hand. I guess I could try it, but it's just something that I normally. So if I'm, you know, I'm holding a piece I want to cut, could I do it very quickly or easily? Yeah, I could, but I definitely couldn't close it one handed. But I still like it. You
have to get the center lock. Like if you get it in the center, then like kind of like a triad lock, or even like a spider. So my favorite lockback, like I obviously love cold steels, triad locks. Like they're so fucking tough, man. Like
Yeah.
they're insane. But my favorite is the stretch, and I don't even own one. I used to own one, and I gave it away. The Spyderco stretch.
Okay.
The Spyderco stretch. It's, to me, I think that is one of the most perfect EDC knives on the planet. Like when you get it, like you said, like the handle kind of feels like it's like a full tang fixed blade. And then the geometry is just great. The blade shape is exactly the shape that works for everything. It comes with really good steels, and you know the lockback's a strong lock. You know, it's a reliable lock. I mean, there's a reason why it's been around for so long. It's not as strong as obviously the Triad, but you know it's strong enough. And those are real easy to open one hand and close because the lock is in the center, so you can click it and let it fold forward and rest against your finger. Do you know what I mean?
Makes sense. So that makes, because this one's not, it's towards the back, so that makes sense.
Where you just go like this and you let it drop. So
I see what you mean. Let it drop against your finger and then move your finger out the way.
You put your finger up high because there's a spot there that's not sharp, So
what is that? What are the scales of that knife made of?
This one's titanium. This is original goat scales.
Yeah.
On an 8010. This thing is a beast, man. So
here's another issue that companies have with me is I'm not a fan of titanium knives. I had a really bad experience with a V-Knives knife.
Oh, what knife was it?
The Poseidon.
Okay.
And I took it hunting with me. I had blood on my hands. I went to open it and use it, and it slipped and cut me.
Hunting blood?
I had blood from a hog on my hand.
Okay, a hog. Okay.
Yeah. And so I was going to cut the rectum out the hog before I took it back to process it. And the blade slipped on me and it cut me. And I just blamed it might have been my fault, but in my mind, it was a titanium because
fuck titanium.
So for me personally, when I go hunting, I prefer a CNC G10 or my Micarta. But a lot of firms, people like the aesthetics of a titanium. But KUBEY sending me some stuff, and I think it's titanium. And I said, hey, and I wear joggers a lot. I wear shorts a lot. And it just feels heavier for me personally.
But how do you carry it so with me, I wear a lot of joggers too. I wear it on the belt line. So that way I can literally carry a Triad lock. It doesn't matter. I don't carry in the pocket if I'm wearing joggers. So around the belt line makes it perfect. And it's held against you. You can, it's secure. It's easy to get to. I love titanium. I'm a titanium whore.
Why do you like it though?
So I like it for lots of reasons. One, I like the thought of my knives being made, and I know this is like, it doesn't benefit probably in any way, but I like the thought of like my knives being made out of like the best materials on the planet, like things that were made to go out into outer space and shit. Like I just like the thought of that.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a factor, but it's a lot lighter, and it's got the same strength or stronger than steel. It's non-magnetic. You can anodize it. There's lots of different finishes. I like the texture of it over aluminum. So I like aluminum. I do like aluminum, but compared to titanium, I love titanium way more. Like even if the price was no different or anything like that, I like the texture a lot more. And then the memory is better on it. So like let's say with a frame lock, right?
What do you mean by memory? Yeah.
Right. So a frame lock, it has the lock bar, right?
Yep.
This is a spring, so it's cut right here and then bent. So if you take a sheet of titanium, right, and you take a sheet of steel, like the same everything, and you bend the titanium will go right back to true. Steel, you can bend it and it'll wind up staying bent. So it just has more memory on going back to true. So that's one reason why it winds up working good for lock bars and stuff like that. Not saying there isn't some steel that is superior to titanium, but it'll be so much heavier and just everything, like it'll rust, it'll be magnetic, like, so it's non-magnetic, it doesn't rust, you can get it wet, you can get it anything. It's really strong, and like I said, good memory. So those are the reasons why I like it. But I like the look of a knife with milling and stuff. I love it. I love all stuff though, like all like different materials.
I guess for me, I had my first good experience with titanium was Three Rivers Manufacturing sent me to Adam, and they sent it to me with carbon fiber, but the secondary, you know, you can change out the scales in 10 seconds. And they sent the titanium. I had a good experience with that, but Three Rivers Manufacturing parent company is Halpern Titanium, and they provide titanium to dozens of knife brands. And in 2018, they just found it prudent to start their own knife company. So, you know, Halpern Titanium started with they had 2,000 pounds of titanium in the back of his truck, and he was hauling it to different knife brands. They provide titanium to Spyderco and a bunch of other brands. Nice. And so when I talked to the Three Rivers team and they told me about their parent company and Halpern and like how they started, it made sense why it was such an enjoyable experience. They provide their own titanium. You know, I've since sold that knife. I still have a Shadow, which is in G10, but that was the first good experience with it. Shadow's good. I love the Shadow. I don't care that much because it's hard for me to recommend it when
people can't get it.
When folks can't get their hands on it. And so I got it at I had somebody bought it, Blade Atlanta. I wasn't there. They bought it for me and sent it to me because but I like it. I don't care very often though, because
I'm the exact same reason. I love it. I don't carry it that often. I don't show it on the channel as much because I don't like showing things people can't get. Yes. Like I don't mind if it's obtainable, right? Which that technically is obtainable, so I'll show it. But if it's difficult to get, there's no reason to show it often because you'll wind up pissing off the audience. 100% mad at you. And 100%. I don't blame them because I don't want to sit there and watch videos after video on stuff I can't possibly get, you know, or it might take a year to get or something. Most people aren't going to wait.
And that's the issue. So like Nutsack just recently dropped the Speed Sling. Nutsack, you know, they make bags.
We're actually going to talk about that because I have a bag that I think is like a budget Nutsack.
Okay. But so Nutsack, they sent me their Speed Sling, but so I never owe them content, but I like making content for them. They're a great company. Okay. But I won't do a video if no one can buy it because there's not a lot of content out. If I put a video out, people are going to watch it and they're going to be butthurt. They can't get it, which is it's understandable.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, you know, Roaring Fire is a company I work with a lot.
That's actually who we're about to look at. Go ahead.
Yeah. Roaring Fire. They sent me a knife roll the other day, which is available right now. And I'm traveling tomorrow. I'm taking that knife roll with me to when I travel. So yeah.
So it's funny you brought them up. So I recently got, and I'm about to do a video on it. This is from Roaring Fire. It's their wax canvas backpack.
Yep, I got that.
It's really nice though. Like, and I've been carrying it for about 3 weeks now, and I think it's starting to become my favorite backpack. Because it's got that nice weight to it. I like the feeling of it. It feels indestructible. It feels tough. My brother has a nutsack, so I felt the nutsack, so I know.
Pause.
Like, similar. Right, exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
Obviously felt a nutsack. But it feels very similar to that. So that's why I think that this could possibly be, because their stuff's expensive, right?
Yeah.
Not saying it's overpriced or anything, but for a lot of people, it's going to be expensive. It's USA made, so it's great stuff. And I like my brother's stuff, man. I was jealous when I seen it. I really like it. Like, it's really good stuff. But it's nice to offer to people, the audience, that they can't shell out that kind of money, right? You know, for a backpack. Not when there's backpacks that are so much more affordable, but this is something that resembles it. You know, it's obviously not perfect, but it's really nice. It's very well done. You can also get a little pack that kind of matches
the Smoter.
But I'm loving it though. The video is going to be a good video on it. I'll tell you that much.
So the reason they're able to keep their prices where they are is because most wax canvases produced in the New England states. I forget which specific state, but if you want like an American made wax canvas, you're getting it from the New England states. But if you don't, you can just get it from overseas. And so, but it just depends on the ounce that you want the wax canvas to be in. So Nutsack and Waterfeld both use 16-ounce wax canvas. I don't know what Roaring Fire uses. It feels durable.
I don't know what it is either. I should look into that.
But I that's why, you know, Nutsack and Waterfeld make it's 100% made in America except for the zippers. They get those from Japan, but everything else is, you know, they're getting the leather from the Pacific Northwest, and whether it's full grain or top grain, and so it's the inner nylon is coming in from the Midwest states. So that's why they go high end, because
I don't
also
blame them. It's like I said,
you're
man, I'm
employing
jealous. It's really nice
you're
stuff.
employing Americans, right? And you got to maintain overhead for a factory.
Insurance,
so I get it.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I don't, like I said, I don't think it's overpriced whatsoever. I think the price is fine. I just know for some people, it's not going to be obtainable,
Right.
regardless, because some people just, granted, they want really good quality materials. They want to get the most that they can, but there's going to be a limit. And for the people that can't afford it, I mean,
it's great.
Awesome for them, because I like I said, when I seen my brothers, I was like, damn it. I instantly was like, man, I got to get one of these.
And I agree.
And I got this Roaring Fire. I was like, yes.
So Roaring Fire is a great company. They're really trying to expand. They got to work on their website, but they're trying to expand and they're trying to get to that next level. And I see them being similar to Alpaca. Alpaca was kind of that sleeper company 3 years ago. Now we put Alpaca up there with the likes of the Airs and the Vertexes and the Belroys, but their prices are better. So yeah.
So going to like survival stuff, because you hunt and shit like that, if you could only bring one survival item with you, what would it be?
A knife.
It would be a knife.
Yeah,
that's usually the typical answer. I heard somebody else,
because the only way I could think of making a knife would be if you're wearing, so you can make a knife out of a field watch if you're willing to break the front glass of the field watch.
Okay.
And but
it's not going to be a great knife.
It's not going to be great. It's going to be enough to cut something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you still need a way to use it. And unless you're going to use it between your fingers, you got to tie it to a stick, which means you don't have tape with you. So it's kind of like a knife. The only issue is honing the knife between sharpening. How are you going to sharpen it? Is there a creek nearby? Maybe you can just figure it out and do it by hand. But
if you can get a good rock, you could definitely do it. Once you learn how to sharpen, you can definitely sharpen on just about anything that's hard, right? But like a rock, but it's not going to be the best edge, but you can definitely do it. You can make it doable. But yeah, no, I agree with you, because just about anything else, as long as I have that, I can kind of make what I need.
Right. I mean, if I'm out in the field, I can conjure up a pot to boil water. I could think of I could think of ways to provide shelter to keep me from getting rained and pissed on all night by rain. But it's going to be hard for me to think of a way for me to produce what a knife can do.
Yeah, and making one out of a rock is just a ridiculous thing.
I don't even know. I guess I've seen they didn't teach us that in the Marines. They didn't teach us that in the Marines. And other than me watching someone do it, I don't even know how I would go through the process of, all right, I got a rock. I saw cavemen do it. Let's do it. I don't know if that's something I'm capable of doing.
Yeah, well, also I think having the knife to make traps to catch small game, even if it's just to catch small prey, to catch other things, like whatever, like to have a knife just to make traps, like it's such a good thing to have. And then like you were saying earlier, like picking at trees and things like that, like getting like sap, and just whatever you need from the environment. It's nice if you have a knife to cut into things, and scrape things.
No, it makes sense. And for me personally, like, okay, if I'm hunting and I catch a sow in one of my traps, and I prefer to put her down with a knife behind her ear versus wasting around. Plus her head is hard anyway. The round may bounce off her skull. And so I'm trying to this is a controlled environment, a steel cage, a hog is caught in the cage. I walk up to the cage. She's pissed, but I can use a longer, a Benchmade Bushcrafter or an SE number 4 or something like that and put her down. But how else would I do that? If I caught a hog and I was surviving, like, it's me and the hog in the real world. How the hell am I going to put her down? Or some shit
and they can be pretty dangerous.
Yeah. Pretty dangerous. They can be, yes.
Well, do you know what I mean? Like, I just mean like they can be very dangerous. They they tend to run so far, and then they come back at you. Like if you corner them, they just they run right at you. It's not like a lot of other animals where they continue to try to run. They like, even like a wolf and things like that, like they'll continue to try to run for the most
before
part.
They turn around. Yeah. So a sounder of hog is one of the things you don't want to roll up on if they don't have anywhere to run. Hogs, even boars, they have the tusks, but even a sow, she'll come at you. And you know, even turkey, like I hunt turkey, they'll run, but eventually even turkeys would turn around and get with you.
Get your ass.
So
what got you? A turkey.
oh my God. But even if you try to climb a tree with a sounder or hog, you know, they'll wait.
They'll wait for you.
Yeah, they'll wait.
We ain't going nowhere.
Unless she has piglets and she needs to tend to them.
Right.
They'll wait around.
Dallas, thank you for the 20 bones. Big fan of both of you guys. Well, thank you, Dallas. I do appreciate the donation.
Appreciate that,
man.
Dallas. Yeah.
Big donation. I appreciate it. So I wanted to ask you about like your boots and stuff like that. I know we're about to fragrance of the day, which we're going to talk, you know, about bags, boots, and stuff like that. But might as well just jump into it now. What kind of boots do you wear?
So,
or shoes or whatever.
Yeah. So for the most part, I wear. I bought some. Well, I say I bought. My wife, I put in a cart exactly what I wanted from Redline. And she bought me a pair of Redline boots. I don't know how many years ago it was. I don't know which model it is, but I've been wearing those consistently for years. If I'm not wearing those, I like to wear steel-toed like boots I pick up from Walmart, but they'll have a leather outer shell, but a steel toe at the front. So I'm a big fan of that. A really big fan, even like Wolverine or Caterpillar. I'll wear that shit. I don't have an issue with it at all.
Yeah, I like it too.
I do a lot of rucking, and for rucking, I like to wear Columbia hiking shoes, and they just wear really well once you break them in. Once you get like 20 miles of rucking in, they wear and they break in really well. And so for the most part around, you know, the house, you just wear whatever. But those are kind of what I rely on in the field. And for me, like if I'm hunting or something like that, they can get wet. I have no issues with them, and they can just keep going and going.
Do you prefer having basically a heavy duty shoe or a boot in the field when you're rucking and stuff?
So when I'm rucking, I like to have the light duty Columbia. But if I'm hunting, and the thing when I'm hunting or if I'm out in the field, Marines are amphibious. I don't care about the rain. And since I don't care about the rain, I need something that if I'm standing in the rain like a jackass for an hour, that I don't have to worry about my feet getting wet. So I like to wear Sam Socks, which is an American made company. They make a really good sock.
Socks? Sam?
Yeah. SAMSOX.
Okay.
And they sent me some socks out a few years ago, and I'm in love with their socks. And for rucking, I will wear that, or I wear Bombas. They make some fantastic socks as well for rucking. But I just don't want my socks and my feet to get wet.
Yeah.
And as cheap as Caterpillar and Wolverine boots are, you know, if you go to their website instead of going to Walmart, they make better quality boots. So like I won't wear my Redlines hunting because I want to also wear those casually. But like, you know, if I'm going to be going to those environments, I have no issues with. I usually will wear like slides or something until I get there, and then slip those on at the back of my truck whenever I got shit going on.
Where are you located again?
I'm in Dallas.
You're in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
So does your boots usually, because I've been to Dallas one time, so I don't really know the environment that well. Do you usually get your boots really messed up when you're out in the field?
So no, not really. So
it's pretty dry, right?
When we're out, I mean, it's dry, it's muddy, but the environment is dry. When I lived in Carolina, it was super humid and it was an issue. Yeah. When I was in Carolina, I would just wear Danners. Danner makes Marine Corps boots, and I still own Danner Marine Corps boots. I don't wear them very often, but Danner also makes the exact same jungle Marine Corps boots without the EGA on it, without the Marine Corps logo on it. And you can wear those as well. When I was out there, I wore jungle boots because they have eyelets on the side, and it allows for your feet to breathe.
Do you know what they recently dropped? So I have the Danner, the Bull Runs, right? That's like the most common boot. It's a really good boot. It's just a good casual boot. I would never use it for work or anything, but for just a good casual boot, it's great. They just recently dropped USA made too, just like the Bull Runs. Shoes, they're Bull Run shoes.
Really?
So yeah, they have a little bit of the style of the the boot, but it's a shoe. And they look great. I thought about buying a pair because for USA made, they're really not that bad. Like price wise, like $250, I think is what they are. I think the shoes are like $200 to $250. The only other company that matches them in price wise would be Thursday as far as USA made boots, because most, I guess Thorough Goods, you can get a good pair of boots for like $200 to $250, which are really good quality as well. but most companies are gonna be 350 plus for
Mainly
a good quality boot.
But it makes sense because yeah, the patina is great. That's fantastic. But
Mhm.
the fact that 8 years down the road, the seams still haven't busted,
Yeah,
and
that's huge.
the shoes still aren't they aren't talking to you yet. Like the
Uh-huh.
soles haven't removed themselves. I've had to take hot glue on dress shoes, like work shoes,
Yeah, me too.
and take hot glue and try to glue the sole back together so I can go to work the next day.
Me too.
And so,
Me too.
like, you know,
I've done that many
it may
times.
sound like a lot to spend $300 on a boot, but if you think about it, if it's $30 a year because you own them for 10 years, then it may be worth it.
No, I've told a lot of stories on here. I grew up doing construction my whole life. I was born and raised in construction. We grew up really poor, you know, and so, you know, having new shoes wasn't a thing. You got shoes like once a year if you were lucky. And there was a lot of times, like on the job site, you'd burn a hole through your damn boot or shoe or whatever you had on. And this is something you still have to come to work with tomorrow.
100%.
So you're literally taping it, doing whatever you can just to make it to work until you can get paid, you know, until Friday or whatever. So yeah, dude, I've had, and like getting wet, and here, you know, the weather's crazy here.
Yeah.
You know, you know, it's unpredictable.
With
So
all those lakes nearby. Yeah.
yeah, it's brutal. So yeah, I've told a lot of stories with having a lot of troubles. That's why I like to talk about good quality boots, because once I had the opportunity to get good quality boots, I tried to never go back.
Yeah.
Because I realized, because I guess at the time, you know, especially when I was younger, I didn't even know that boot quality really changed.
No,
You know what I
no.
mean? You just think, you know, it's a boot. A boot's a boot. And I thought, you know, no boots are really supposed to last you more than 3 to 6 months, you know. But
Yeah.
it's like, no, good quality boots can last you years, you know. So
I didn't
you don't
realize it
until
either
you get them
until I started writing contracts for construction, and I would have to go visit I would have to go visit the site, and I might be out there for day after day, month after month. Now I'm not out there with a Matabo or a Makita, or, you know what I'm saying, pumping out the actual throwing up a frame and laying a subfloor. But the purpose is my stuff would still degrade very quickly. That's when I started taking notice, like, all right, well, let me actually pay attention to the shit that I'm throwing on my feet. And that kind of just spun into my person. Me, boots and trousers are super important. I only like it for if I don't know what I'm going to be doing, there's 2 brands of trousers I like to wear, and then boots that I have as well.
What are they? What are the brands?
So I'm a big fan of Vertex LT Stretch Line.
Okay.
And so the reason for that specifically is they have like reinforced knees that don't look like they are. They have 14 pockets. They got the mag pocket and all that type of stuff. But even like super small, subtle touches, like they have color matched leather over some of the pockets so that your multi-tools and your knives won't fray them. Stuff like that. And then for rucking, I'm a big fan of Columbia, just their line of lightweight pants. And I was wearing North Face for a while, their trousers, but it just kind of felt rough once you get 5-6 miles into a ruck. Or I wear skivvies, which is just super shorts that we Marines wear every now and again.
So I wanted to because I want to go into fragrance of the day and actually hold up a specific couple fragrances just for you. But I wanted you to hopefully talk about your cigars for a minute.
Yeah.
The brands and the ones you're smoking, your favorite ones.
Yeah.
Because the fragrance I have kind of relates.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
So yeah. So what kind of cigars are you smoking normally? And what kinds do you recommend to people?
So if it's someone brand new trying to get into cigars, I often will recommend cigars from farms such as Drew Estates, which is a company that makes a large line of cigars. They make the shitty acids that a lot of people smoke, all the way up to the high end undercrowns, undershades. But they're easy smokers. I'm smoking one now. It's just something that you can kind of just dive into and just kind of enjoy. I just pulled the band off of this one, but I'm smoking a factory smoke by Drew Estates, and hopefully y'all can see that. But it's a factory smoke by Drew Estates. They come in different variants. This one that I'm smoking is a Robusto, but I'm a big fan of just something that you can buy, you can smoke. I don't like, there's a few minimum things when it comes to cigars for me personally. I don't like big cigars, like bigger than 60 gauge, because it kind of looks like you're sucking a dick. But that's just me personally, right? You know, people like stogies and shit like that. But, you know, I like stuff from Romeo and Julieta, I like stuff from Olivia, and I know I'm mispronouncing the name of that brand as well. But the way I like develop my palette is two different ways, and this might be something people can take away from is I watch Jeremy Sires. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He does YouTube stuff.
I don't think,
but
maybe I'm not sure.
He talks mostly man shit, and he does a little bit of EDC. But he put me onto this company called Pravada Cigar Club, and Pravada Cigar Club, you pay them $25 a month, and they send you they ask you about what do you like to drink, what do you know. So I drink coffee black, I drink tea with no sugar. They figured out that I like tart stuff. And they figure out they'll send you 3 cigars a month and develop your palate. You can figure out, oh, I hate those cigars. I love those cigars. And I got
an average price for a cigar?
So
like
it just,
if you didn't have that subscription.
So the average price for what I go for, I don't like to really spend more than like $11-12 on a stick. These factory smokes cost about between $2.50 and $3.50, and I buy them in packs of 20.
Okay,
and,
that's not bad at all.
Yeah, and in that way, if these are about an hour smoker. So some sticks, you know, that the way that they're rolled and they're packed, how long you're going to be smoking it for. So here in the evenings, I like a peppery, darker stick if I can drink it with bourbon. But if I'm working or doing some work or whatever, I may smoke a lighter, a faster smoker, like a 45-minute smoke.
Do you have any specialty lighters and cutters or anything?
So, well, I do have one of my sponsors for my live streams is this company called TISFA, TISFA, and they make cutters and cigar stuff. And they're not sponsoring anything. I just use their shit all the time. But they have cutters they have cigars with cutters built inside of them.
Nice.
So this is a V cut that's built inside, and it has a cigar rest and all the other type of shit.
So how does that V cut work? Because I don't know if I've ever seen the V cut. Like I've just seen the regular cut.
So the V cut, so there's V cut, guillotine style, and then there's you can punch a cigar.
Right. Those are the only two I've seen, the guillotine and the punch. I've never seen the V.
The V cut, it really just depends on what type of draw you want from the stick. I like a lot of smoke. I like big draws. I like a lot of floral. You know, when I take a puff from a cigar, I want a lot of smoke. I don't want to have to just sit like I'm freaking trying to start a car with my mouth. It just feels weird, right? So for me, sometimes cigars work better with a V cut, and also sometimes when you do a guillotine style, which is a straight cut, you end up getting a lot of flakes in you're always pulling flakes off your tongue and shit like that. So V cuts sometimes make it easier to smoke that type of shit as well.
Okay, I got you. So the fragrance that I chose to talk about today, I've actually talked about it a few times because I freaking love it, but it's a tobacco fragrance. I actually have 2 of them. I am going to recommend one other. Do you get into fragrances at all?
So I do, and here's the thing. So a lot of times for me with fragrances, it's really about, I try to develop a fragrance alongside a woman. Like what smells good on my skin. So of course my wife
like too.
Exactly. And I might ask another broad and I'll say, hey, you know, what is this? Like, what do you think about this? And how does it smell on my skin? For me personally, like the line that comes from like Louis Vuitton, a lot of the colognes that they produce just smells good on me. I know it sounds old school and sounds weird as well, but on me personally, Brut smells good, even though it's an old school type shit. And then even stuff that you never heard of before, like Elizabeth Taylor, she's long and dead, but I still would buy, you know, they make cologne as well. So it just smells good on me. Stuff that doesn't smell fantastic on me at all. What is that shit called? I don't know, Dior or some shit like that. But so it's just really about like, what does my wife think after I've been wearing it for 20 minutes, you know?
So before we get into this fragrance, David just wants to ask you a question. He's a member from 14 months. He says, what boot would you recommend for wet and salty conditions?
So wet and salt, I can only give you my experience when I was in North Carolina hunting, and I wore the Danner's version of the Marine Corps boot that didn't have the EGA on it. I don't know what it was called. I could probably look it up, but Danner, they make Marine Corps boots that you can buy, but they make them for civilians as well. They have the eyelet. So what I would say to you, David, is if you could look for a boot that has two little holes on the side, they call them eyelets, near kind of like where your ball of your foot goes towards the heel of your foot, that allows for the humidity and moisture to let your foot breathe and so you don't get sweaty. So from any reputable boot brand, if they have that type of stuff, it's going to allow for your foot to breathe. I don't have like a specific recommendation now that I'm here in Texas, though.
Yeah, so You know, I could recommend a ton of different stuff, but obviously go with a waterproof boot, and I'd go with something with a 360 stitch down, just so that you know you don't have the problems like we were talking about earlier with the toes coming off and shit like that. Timberland Pros are really, really good. That's a great work slash just all around boot. And they're waterproof, so that's something I'd recommend. You can find them in a lot of cases on sale because they've been around for a little while. Unlike, like, say, if I said a Red Wing, right? It's going to be, you know, 350, $400.
Yep, that's what I meant earlier. I think I said Red Line, which is my daughter's
Red Wing
cheerleading,
man,
but I meant Red Wine.
Yeah.
Red Wing.
Feels good to be back. Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate the support. So the fragrance I'm going to recommend today, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually send you a sample of it.
Okay.
Because this particular fragrance, I don't know if you're going to like it. This is not I'm not saying this is a mass, because there's different types of fragrances. Mass pleasing ones that like pretty much everybody's going to like. Nobody's going to hate it. Whether or not you like it on your skin is different, but nobody's going to dislike it, right? Then there's stuff that's like kind of specific. So this is a tobacco fragrance. It's sweet, it's spicy. It's called red tobacco for a reason.
Is it spelled just like it sounds? Red tobacco?
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm going to send you a sample of it. This stuff is nuclear as far as long lasting. Like one spray, that's all you need is one spray. There's a lot of fragrances you need multiple sprays of this stuff, one, maybe two, you know, if you really want to get crazy. But it's definitely one that will last 16 plus hours. So really heavy, but to me, man, like this stuff, like when I first smelt it, the first time I smelled it, I said, there's no fucking way. There's no way I can wear that. And then I could not stop because I put it on like my wrist and I just kept smelling it. Within an hour, I was like, you know, I kind of like that. You know, within a couple hours, I was like, you know, and I kept going back to the bottle and smelling it. Within a few days, it wound up becoming like one of my favorite fragrances. And that's how some fragrances are, because it's the dry down that counts, right? And so what I smelled was right when you spray it, it's a little sharp. But when you let it sit for 5 minutes, it gets sweet. And then the spiciness comes out and like everything starts blending together. So another one, and that's Mancera Red Tobacco.
Okay.
Phenomenal fragrance. I'm going to bottle you up a little sample of it and send it to you. You might like it, and your wife might like it too. It's like I said, it is a tobacco fragrance. You'll 100% smell the tobacco in there.
Yeah.
But it's a very masculine scent. Now, another one is called Replica Jazz Club, and it smells like cocktails and cigars. That's what it smells like. So it's supposed to smell like, just so you know, Replica makes fragrances that are a memory. So the person that designed this was designing it around a jazz club. So whatever, what is it, 2013 Brooklyn Jazz Club smells like, that's what this is supposed to smell like. But there's something just elegant about it, and also, I don't know, masculine. It's a beautiful scent.
Right.
I freaking love it. Replica Jazz Club. I'm also gonna send you a little bit of that. So that's two tobacco fragrances. So two of my favorite tobacco fragrances. There's a lot of other ones, but one I do want to recommend to you that I think, man, I could recommend so many because I have so many. Because like there's different styles. So, you know, depending on who you are, like one might not be your style, another one might be. I have hundreds. So but anyway,
hundreds. Wow.
hundreds,
Okay.
yeah. Well, because I buy samples, so samples are small, you know. I have like big bottles, I probably have like 50 or 60. But Versace Dylan Blue. You know how you were saying, what brand were you saying that you
That's
liked?
so it was I can't remember what I had, because when I shave with a straight razor. I like to put, instead of I shave with it. So I haven't bought new razors in years. I just shave with a straight razor.
And you just replace the blade?
Yeah, I replaced the blade. I have the old school kind that flips out and you shave and you can cut yourself at a moment's notice, that type of shit. But I like to put cologne on for aftershave instead of actual aftershave.
Yeah, I'm actually the same way. So Versace Dylan Blue, this stuff I absolutely recommend. Now this is different. This is a crowd pleaser. This is one
Dylan Blue. I'm sorry, Dylan.
Versace Dylan Blue. Your wife will probably love this. Because, well, one, just so you know, women are attracted to ambroxan fragrances the most. This would be considered an ambroxan bomb. That's what most like like crowd pleasing fragrances have in them in many cases is Ambroxan, because they know the ladies will like it, then the men will wear it.
Is it a
So,
toilet or a
no,
parfum?
it's a toilet. Yeah.
Okay.
EDT.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, man, this stuff for the price, the oils, the quality, the lasting, and the scent is all like, it's a masterpiece in my opinion. It's very hard to beat as far as scent profile and just because it lasts like 12 hours. It projects. It's a beautiful scent. Everybody loves it. Even on like street interviews, when you watch like them compare it to like other people's noses,
Yep.
it almost always wins, even against other $450 fragrances. And this is like $40.
So you can buy that at places like Sephora or Dillard's.
You can get it on Amazon. You can get it basically anywhere. Versace, Dylan Blue. So yeah, that stuff.
Because I mean, whatever I wear, you know what I'm saying, my goal is for Mrs. X to go 20 toes with me. So if, you know, if it's a smell that's going to make the panties fall off, then
yeah.
Then
well, that's because there's actually one. It's called Vibrato.
That's the panty dropper.
They call it the ladies vibrator.
Yeah.
I actually recently got it. The problem with it is that it is insanely priced. Like, it is just way too expensive.
What is it called again?
Vibrato, Vibrato. It's just it's crazy expensive. You can get a sample for like 20-30 bucks, but even to spend that much on a sample is crazy. But I'll tell you what, man, this stuff is special.
I mean, a sample is what, maybe 20 sprays. That's it.
No, this one this would probably be 2 months worth right here, maybe a month and a half. So you'll get a decent amount out of it, but the bigger the bottle, like the big bottle's like $400.
Wow.
So put it that way. But you know, obviously that's like 100 mil or something, 50 to 100 mil. So you get a lot out of it. But the scent is a citrus, masculine, not sweet, but it has like a tiny bit of sweetness to it. It's bright. It's just unique in like a certain, like a specific type of way that's hard to like place your finger on, but it's in my opinion, it's very good. I actually wore it. I got multiple compliments. I got compliments from the ladies at the post office. I got compliments from the ladies at a restaurant, from my sister. So, and like, it was genuine. Like, you know, you could kind of tell when it's genuine. But that's a really good one. But like, it's hard to recommend because it's so expensive. These other ones I just recommended are fairly priced.
Does this Versace one hold up well when you're wearing a lot of clothes? Like if you're wearing all the way from a graphic tee to a tuxedo, it just holds up well no matter, you know, what you got on?
Yeah, well, the beautiful thing about it too, the Versace Dylan Blue, is that it's the most versatile fragrance I can think of. Some fragrances are for summer, some are for winter. It's literally an all year fragrance. It's an anytime fragrance. Like, you could wear it on a date, you could wear it to a funeral, you could wear it anywhere. Like, the only place I would say you wouldn't want to wear is maybe to the office.
Okay, I got you.
Because an office scent, to me, I think you should go with a freshie. While this is super fresh because it's considered a blue fragrance, and a blue fragrance would be like a fresh out of the shower gel type of fragrance.
Yep.
You know, kind of like we were talking about earlier. Like, it's just like, you know, it kind of not aftershavey, but like where it just smells like you just jumped out of the shower. You know, you've washed and you're nice and clean. That's what blue usually means, like the blue fragrance.
Yeah.
But when I think of like an office fragrance, I think of like you want something like fresh linen smell, like citrusy, fresh linen stuff that doesn't like it. Nobody's going to be displeased. It just smells fresh. I think those are the best for those types of environments. Not saying you can't pull something off, because you totally could, but if I was going to recommend something,
it would be that.
So the straight razor you used, is there a specific brand you're using or what?
No, so I literally bought the entire set on Amazon. I bought the straight razor on Amazon. I bought the 100-pack of razors on Amazon, and I probably buy razors maybe once every 2 years. And so that way, you know, but it was a learning curve to stop cutting myself. But now, you know, I shave and I have no issues with it. I can't really do near my Adam's apple very well. I have to use a different type of razor where it clamps down and double-sided, but the straight razor on top near my cheeks, I have no issues with at all. And for office fragrances though, I guess I have been to my office probably since 2022. We don't go in very often.
Okay.
And so a lot of it would be for stuff that I'm wearing, whether I'm around the house or if I'm going out. And me and my wife like to go out a lot, get a babysitter and go out a lot after the kids go to sleep.
Yeah, the one cool thing too, with the Versace Dylan Blue is it's very easy to link from Amazon, like if you want to recommend it. And like I said, dude, I've recommended so much because when you smell it, you'll understand. It's just it's difficult not to recommend.
And I don't want to get scammed up because like Amazon is it sold shipped and sold by Amazon? Because you know I hate I would hate to buy from it. The reason I buy cologne at a brick and mortar and walk into a store because I know it's the real shit. I got freaking bamboozled with a Benchmade clone because you know, so
I usually just look at the dealer, and as long as they're a reputable dealer. So like with this stuff, the reason why I say that is because most of the fragrances you can find on Amazon, but they're usually priced higher actually for fragrances, because the reason why is because companies that sell it are usually discounters. So they sell them at a discount, and this is stuff, it's going to be pretty much the same price whether you buy it on Amazon or from the discounters. You might be able to find it cheaper from discounters, but you'll at least be able to link it, and it's from a fragrance site, you know. So but like I said, it's the price, like it's when you start learning fragrances, you know, and the oils and stuff, it's amazing the price of that stuff, because you start telling the difference between high quality oils and high quality fragrances and the long lasting and just all the details. And as versatile and, you know, as good as that one is, it's tough to see how it's only $40, because I can think of fragrances that are $300+ that can't even hold a candle to this stuff
at all. Wow.
There is one company, Alexandria. They can't patent scents, fragrances. They can't patent it. They can patent the bottle
because of the mixture of oils is unpatentable, right?
Right. You can't have your own oil. So because of that, a lot of companies will take something that's very popular and make their own version or put a spin on it. Alexandria is a company that takes high quality fragrances and makes their own versions of it. Sometimes with a spin, and sometimes they smell pretty close to it. But Game Time from Alexandria, it's a mixture of two different fragrances that are like $400 a piece. They basically took two super popular fragrances and mixed them together and made a baby. And it's another one that's really, really good. Super masculine, lightly sweet. It's the two fragrances are fucking man, I can't even think of it now. Oh man,
I'll Google it. Keep going.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but it's a great fragrance. So oh shit. So do you
007? No.
Do you have, because I know I mean I guess I don't know, but do you have like a specific belt that you wear, leather or fabric?
So when I see CW, I like to carry a belt it's from a brand called CQR. And I don't know if they have their own website. They sent me a belt 3 years ago, and I liked it so much. It didn't matter what I was carrying.
What kind of fabric, or what is it? What is it made out of?
So it's made out of nylon. I don't know like the makeup of it. I just know it's made out of nylon. But what I liked about it is that the actual, it's not a clip because you string it through, and I don't know how you call it, but it's like a McMat belt, Marine Corps Martial Arts belt, where you run it through and you can tighten it and loosen it. But the reason I like this is because it has a plastic buckle, and you don't have to take it off when you go through TSA. It still holds up well. I can wear it on the left side of my body because I like the appendix carry right in front of me, so I don't need the buckle right there. So I keep it to the left. And so because of that, and it's super affordable. So I was wearing an arcade belt for a while, and they sent me out some belts, and they're trying to get themselves more known. And they're more
arcade. I've never heard of them.
Yeah, so I hadn't heard of them either until they reached out to me. They sent me some belts, and they were okay. But when I carried like a J frame Smith & Wesson, that's okay. But if I wanted to carry something different, sometimes the belt wouldn't hold up.
Right.
And so I like the arcade belts, but the CQR is like $30 on Amazon. And if you lose weight, which, you know, I'm about 2 biscuits away, pleasantly plump, but you know, if I were to start to drop weight, you can cut it and burn it with no issues. Now, if you gain weight, you got to go buy a new belt, but you know,
so you can actually size it yourself, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
Exactly. Yeah, so I like that.
That is really cool. Yeah, I tend to be a little bit of I love leather. So so recently I really got into like waxed canvas with the bag and stuff, and I'm starting to like more waxed canvas stuff. So I feel like I'm gonna wind up going that route. And recently I bought a couple denim jackets.
Yep.
They're like one's a green one, and it's by the company Capo. It's like the best quality button. It's a button up. That's basically what it is. It's a button up long sleeve, but damn it, these things are like really high quality. Like I couldn't believe it. So I bought one, and then as soon as I got it, I said, oh, I'm buying another one right now. Like this is that good. So I went out and bought another one. They're from the UK. It's Capo UK. You can find them on Instagram. They're like $70, and that's why I knew it'd be good, because you know it's a little bit pricey, but it wasn't so heavily priced that I thought it could possibly just be mediocre. But when I got it, I was like, wow, this stuff's really nice. So I'm loving that. But I love leather though. Like I love leather boots. I love leather belts. I love leather wallets. I just have this thing with leather. I love the way it ages and patinas.
You see, I'm the same way. So I do own leather belts, and so the only leather belts I will purchase myself is from Hanks. Just spells just like it sounds.
That's actually what I got on.
Oh yeah, so I like Hanks because
100-year belt.
They're 100-year belts. They have a great warranty, but they have double eyelets, I guess you would call it. So it just feels more secure. And the belts are usually less than $100, but they do patina well. But leather is a dual usage, because at the end of the day, if you need it, you can use leather in the field with a knife if you ever had to, in between sharpenings. Made too. Yeah, exactly. So, but I don't really use them for CC. I guess I could use it for CCW. I just tend to grab the CQR because
they have it, just so you know, they do have a gun belt. So if you ever go to the site, anybody who's watching, they range between 60 and like $150, just depending on the thickness and the width. So like a gun belt's going to be, I think, between 1.5 inches and 2 inches, depending on your style, right? But because you want to be able to hold a little bit of weight. But they have a specific one. I think it's called the Gunner. And,
I'm sharing it. I'm sharing it now. I'm sharing it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Bang. All right, here. Yeah. Let's look at it. So but they, like he just said, it's a 100-year belt. So what that means is they give you a 100-year warranty. If anything happens to it, they'll fix or replace it. I got the Canon right there. That's the one I have. The Canon 1.5.
Right. Yep.
And I
have the Legend. Yeah.
The best belt I've ever had. I fucking love it.
125. Ooh, I get it.
It is pricey, but the way I looked at it is like, if this is actually going to last me 30, 40, 20, 30 years, whatever, then it's worth it. Right.
Right.
So I've had it for a couple years now, and it's only broken in better. Like it's only gotten better.
Right.
So the way I look at it is that money well spent.
What color did you get? Oak?
Yeah, I got the same color right there that you see right there.
Okay.
And it's just aged really well. The stitching is all, I mean, obviously the stitching is not really holding anything. It's more for just aesthetics. But yeah, everything. Because a lot of times what happens to me is sometimes these wind up giving me issues on belts. Yeah. These are Phillips head. So you can fix them and repair them yourself. A lot of belts are like the what the hell is it called? Where it's like it's like a lip thing where it just punches. And once they mess up, you have to get new ones, new eyelets or whatever they're called. You have to buy new ones and then fix it yourself. With this, you just, if you start feeling it loose, you screw it back in. But it's never came loose, not even a little bit. So.
At all, yeah. The one I have has the same features. I didn't even know that they would, until I bought it. It had that type of stuff, and it was just recommended to Jeremy Sires, like I was talking about earlier. If you ever get the chance to check him out,
yeah.
But he recommended it on one of his everyday carry, because when he does an EDC video, he'll talk about his hat, his belt, his trousers.
Yeah.
And he talked about his belt, and it kind of just drew me in. I think it was like 3 years ago he did a video about it. So, and I went from there.
And I'm just gonna bring this up right before, because we're about to get to story time. We don't have it yet, but we're about to have them on the Neevekniveco site, because recently I started a dealer site with a buddy. It's completely separate from Neevesknives, so because I know a lot of people think there's a conflict of interest. So
yeah,
the point of the dealer site is to get obviously knives wholesale, sell them on the site, but the main reason is to get my own knife designs on there. Nice. And be able to sell my own designs and things like that, and then get exclusives from companies of knives that I already love. But I'm not putting knives on there that I don't like. And if I don't like them and I do put them on there, I'll just say it, which has happened multiple times already. And, it does screw us over. So we'll just wind up giving them away or something like that. But I want to keep it honest, because it is a conflict of interest if I'm reviewing knives. So I'm mostly only getting knives I've already tried, I like, and I'll put on there. Or, like I said, exclusives, things like that.
No,
but we have USA made apparel coming. We have a bunch of different styles. It's like knife art, but it's subtle knife art. So it's not where it's like it's more like something you could wear just about anywhere.
Right.
You know, like it doesn't like jump out as anything crazy. Like some of them are just gonna have like a little knife right here.
Yeah, you show up to I show up to my kids'
Perfect.
elementary school and I don't look like a weirdo. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. This one just has that blade on it right there.
Yep.
That's it. And then on here it's just the Neevesknives sign.
Yep.
There's gonna be some that are a little bit more than others, and then you know, some a little bit less, but just depending on what your style is, because like you said, yeah, when you're pulling up someplace, you sometimes don't want to look crazy. But when it's subtle like that, it still makes a statement.
Yep.
Without making a stupid statement or a crazy one, not stupid, but crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're all USA made. We're going to have an American flag on every single one of them, just placed in a different spot. So that's something I'm really excited about. We have them coming in now. So we just put an order in for all different colors and all different sizes, and we'll have that on the Neeveknives site probably in like 2 weeks. So I'm really looking forward to that. Now, we're gonna transition over to story time, and you have a good story for us, right?
Yeah, dude. Let me grab another stick. I'll tell you.
Yeah, go take your time. So those of you that don't know, we do story time at 9 o'clock. I usually try to tell crazy stories, just you know, stuff that be entertaining and interesting to the audience. So
I got you. Yeah, so this one here is a Quorum Shade, which is an easy smoker as well. But
what was it? Quorum?
Yeah, Quorum, QUOR.
Quorum. Okay.
Yeah, Shade, which is an easy smoker. But no, I guess story time for me would be, I guess I could tell a story when I was in Afghanistan. So when I was at active duty in the Marines, I was called a contracting specialist, so or contracting officer, depending on what I was doing. So out of 190,000 Marines, 200,000 Marines, there was only 140 of us in the Marine Corps. And so there are things that other Marine soldiers, sailors, and airmen cannot do without a contracting Marine. You can't, you can't get a rental car without us writing a contract. If you need to practice sunken chest wounds, you need to buy a hog or a goat so you can shoot it.
What do you mean? What you said, sunken chest wounds?
Yeah, which is just a gunshot.
Okay, gotcha.
Right, so if you
have to pack it, basically.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So, but you need to practice that on real flesh. You practice it on a goat or a hog. And most closely resemble to us are hogs. So we will buy that type of stuff. But in Afghanistan, I had a contract for guard shacks, and I had guard shack in the region of Afghanistan. I was in the region called Lashkargah, which I don't know how they name their regions, but imagine it's a big ass county, right? And they call it Lashkargah. And throughout the Lashkargah, I had contracts for guard shacks all over the place, and I would have to go visit those sites. But around the actual sites, we would also write contracts for mining of old Russian mines. So, Russia invaded Afghanistan in 1970s, and they laid down a bunch of mines, and a bunch of those mines are still there. And before we can go rolling through, we will pay local Afghans to go through and dig them up. Yeah, they go blow themselves up. Exactly. And two of my contracts, we would go out there and I would check to see, are they actually digging the shit up? And they look ridiculous. They literally have a pillow in the front and the back, and they're wearing a bicycle helmet. And that's his version of protection. And so we had one guy who, we were out there, and I was in a jungle vehicle, which is a larger MRAP, but it has big ass windows that you can see out the side of it. And going out to the facility, one of the guys, I was literally just talking to him, and within minutes, he went back to go do his work, and he blew up from an old Russian mine.
Oh man!
And so
he had the pillow and everything, huh?
Yeah, he had the pillow on. It didn't work. No, he died. And the next day, we go out to another site, and another Afghan comes up, and he's so grateful because he's being paid. He's being paid equivalent to $200 American, but that's a ton of money for them, right?
Yeah.
And he ended up taking a round from some mountains, and I got a picture up that shows we were actually.
Oh, here, let me pull it up.
Yeah, so we were out on the facility, and we were talking to him. He came up. If you look at that MRAP that's off in the distance, that has like a mine detector in the very front. It's also there to.
Oh, is that what it's is it pushing or pulling it?
So it's pushing it. So what that's designed to do is that the Marines that are in that vehicle, it's designed to detect IEDs and mines that are in the ground, and they are normally about 100 meters in front of us. And so that vehicle can detect it, and they can know we need to get out.
How does that thing not set it off?
So I don't know how it doesn't set it. I don't know the technology behind it. I just
Okay.
know that like the sensors on the front of it are
Oh,
sensing about 100
before it
meters in
rolls
front of
over.
it.
Right.
Exactly. Before
Yeah.
it doesn't roll over to detect it because it will blow up.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean. Like that's what I was wondering. So it must have a detector before it gets to it.
Exactly. So we were literally talking to this guy, and the photo's not showing it, but about let me see if I have the photo overall. No, it's not showing it. So anyways, there's mountains that's out there, and we were talking to the guy, and we ended up taking rounds from the mountains. He got shot in the sternum, and although he wasn't a Marine, I mean, he's an Afghan, we still had to give him
Of course.
we had to give him
He's
care.
working for you.
Yeah,
He's your bomb guy.
He's literally our bomb guy. He ended up taking around, and we gave him service, and they dragged him to a village because they didn't want us giving him service, even though we had we had a medic with us and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if he lived or died. To this day, I still think about that.
Oh man,
if that guy, so that it was a freaking it's a real life thing to pay those guys to take care of that stuff so that we're not out there doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a couple of interesting events just being out there in Afghanistan.
So the shooter was like in the mountain somewhere.
He was in the mountains. So if you see that MRAP that's in the foreground, there's an actual Marine that's on that 50 cal. Even though we're walking around, there's always a Marine in the 50 cal. Both of those have a Marine in the 50 cal. As soon as he started to shoot, the shooter shot the Afghan. He didn't shoot at us Marines, and he shot him because he was working with us.
Oh, I see. He was like shooting him because he was like basically like a traitor.
Yes, in his eyes, he was a traitor. Yeah. And so the 50 cal put rounds down range, and us having M4s, we didn't shoot towards the mountain. We just took cover behind the MRAPs, and the 50 cal put rounds down range. But the thing is like it still kind of sucks that although they're trying to help us out, they got to worry about their own folks taking them out.
No, that's a shitty situation. And I've thought about that because I've seen it in movies, where you see them doing that, or you see them even giving aid and like helping. And then obviously that makes them an enemy for helping the enemy, so to speak, So it winds up becoming, a backfire basically just from them helping, the American troops. So yeah, and that does suck because it's not possible, I don't think, for us to go into some of those places without hiring locals.
Well, we have to hire them for everything. So like when I talked about Camp Hansen, where you can't get to Camp Hansen, you only can get there by foot patrol or by helo, but we still have porta johns that have to be serviced. Like, I mean, Marines are still shitting, right? And so we had burn pits, and we would you shit in a bag, you take the bag to the burn pit, and you burn your shit. But before we made burn pits, we had porta johns, and local Afghans had to drive and service them. And the warlords found out who was servicing them, and they would kill them. And so,
sorry, go ahead.
And so that's why we started using burn pits instead of actually contracting for porta johns.
Looking at this picture, man, I see you guys are, I mean, obviously geared up to the max, but I can't help but think that it's like 105 degrees out there.
So
temperature.
So this picture was in December. They're in the northern. Their climate is similar to like they're on the same axis as like you would be in the North Carolina. Like, so if you took a straight line and like went straight to Afghanistan, it's on the same axis.
Is
the
that
same
how
line.
that works?
Yeah, so the climate feels similar. It's way hotter. I don't know why it's hotter, but like in December, it feels tolerable. So this picture was taken in December of 2010.
Okay, what's the hottest that you've dealt with out there?
So probably, I was there during winter months. So I was out I was out there from September of 2010 until April of 2011. So it was mostly the winter, which is mostly the rainy season out there. They have rainy seasons. But in Bahrain, when I went to Bahrain, the hottest temperature I had to experience was 128 degrees. It was so hot, so hot my eyebrows sweat, and I would have to walk around with a towel to wipe my eyebrows.
Wow. Yeah, that's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always think about that when I watch, videos or movies or anything like that, all the gear, and then like it just looks so brutally hot. And I've, like I said, I did construction my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been in some really hot weather, like say like a hole, right? Like say if you're doing concrete or whatever reason, like you're down in like a 12-foot hole and there's no wind and it's 100-degree day out, it's 120 down there in that hole.
100%.
because there's no air, there's no wind or nothing. So you'll get down there and you'll literally just be instantly pouring. Or like up in an attic, if it's 100 degrees outside and there's no air or anything in the house, and then you go up inside of an attic, oh my God, like you can't even be up there for more than a couple minutes at a time because it's too dangerous.
See, my brother used to run electrical wire for a builder in attics. He made good money, but it was so hot.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel for him, man. That's tough, especially if it's specific to attics.
Yeah,
that's tough.
So the hottest time would be like, I have this picture here in me inside of an MRAP. It would be hot in there if the AC wasn't working, which a lot of times it wouldn't be. MRAPs don't have, you can't roll the window down. It's MRAP. So that would be times when but once you get out of the vehicle, it's a little bit better.
These are bulletproof.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, and that's why the windows don't roll down, because they're bulletproof. Because they don't make openable bulletproof windows, do they?
No, not even like Tahoes, like bulletproof. You might see Trump or Biden in those. You can't roll those windows down.
Right. Hell yeah. Let me see. I'm looking at the gear. Do you have any more pictures?
Yeah, I got pictures of. I got a ton of pictures when I was out there. So here's one here. So here I had just wrote a contract, and I was these guys right here were about to be new. They were about to be new mine diggers, and so here I have a 45 on my hip, and my rifle is leaning against the wall, and we took off. A lot of times when we're about to talk to these guys, we take off.
Tires holding up a beam.
Where? Hold on. You said a tire? Oh yes, it is. Yeah, it's a tire. So it's a bunch of tires.
Works.
So let me tell you, and this is like a makeshift build. I wrote the contract for this building to get constructed, and the guy got paid, but the thing is like when we go to talk to these guys about digging mines for us, next on my left shoulder is my translator.
Okay.
And we would take off our vests, we would take off our helmets, and we would just kind of let them know like we're real humans, right? Yeah. So this is when we're the most vulnerable. We would even unload, and we would have somebody else that is pulling detail behind me that has his weapon loaded, but we wanted to just let them know that we want to do business with you.
Yes.
And so but all these guys are about to go out and start digging mines. Now I'm giving them documents. Most of them can't read, but they still have to read the contract, which is weird. They sign contracts normally with blood because they didn't have a signature. So they would normally just tap their finger and sign in blood, and that would be their version of signing the contract.
It's DNA, I guess.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I can understand that, because when you take off your gear, you're making yourself a little bit vulnerable to them.
Yep.
And it obviously shows that you're coming with, I don't know, some sign of peace.
Yeah. And you never shake their hands, stuff like that.
Do they not allow it? Is that why? Or
well, because they use rocks as toilet paper, and they use their right hand to wipe their ass. So you don't ever shake their hands.
Okay.
Stuff like that. And since we Americans don't shake with our left hand, that we just never shake their hands.
Makes sense. Do they have a natural way that they shake hands or whatever?
So they hold hands a lot. Afghan males will hold hands a lot, and I don't know why that's a part of their culture, but they literally will hold hands a lot. I guess it's like a sense of just like camaraderie, and we personally thought that was weird, but we just never judged it. If it's
different place. So,
but that's kind of how they greeted one another, is by, kind of holding hands, and they will walk together for, 20, 30 feet and hold hands and go eat together and stuff like that.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. That would definitely be weird to me, but I know, just about anywhere else in the world, there's going to be weird things.
Yep. Yeah, so I thought it was pretty interesting stuff.
So this picture with you in front of this, what is it, a truck? I can't tell, a car.
Right here. Yeah. So on base, so when we're actually there's on the wire and off the wire, and we call the wire is the military base that we construct that quote unquote is safe, right? But it's but on base I had a car that was my rental car, which is just it's some kind of Toyota, but every single vehicle had the steering wheel on the right, and they're all stick shifts. So if you can't drive a stick shift with your left hand, you can't drive.
How is that?
I already knew how to drive a stick shift.
There's something I want to ask you, because I've always wondered this, because I've never rode in one of those cars. So I can drive stick. I've had multiple, but with a stick shift, here, the clutch is on the left and the gas is on the right.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same way on that side, and the only thing that's different is the shifter is on the left instead of the right?
Yeah, it's
Or
the
is the
exact same
pedals
way.
actually different too?
No, it's the exact same way. Clutch is still on. The only thing different is the shifter. I mean, you got to use your left hand.
Okay, so that wouldn't, if you know how to drive stick, that wouldn't be as tough as, so I was always picturing it like if it was, you know, where the clutch is on the right side and the gas would be on the left, that'd be tough.
No, if it was like that, I think it would have been a learning curve. But for us personally, you know, we would have vehicles all the time like this here. The Commandant of the Marine Corps, which is the leader of the Marine Corps, he's there in the middle. This was him back then. His name was General Amos. But all those vehicles in the background, the vehicle he hopped out of, you see the steering wheel right there. They hopped out of. Most of them, all, you know, almost all of them are Toyota, or I forget Toyota's sister brand. And you had to know how to drive stick shift. Otherwise, you just couldn't drive around on base.
Does Toyota like donate or sell the vehicles to the military, or is it like
no? So all these vehicles are purchased through contract, through people like me. We write contracts from, like, we'll buy them from Kuwait, we'll buy them from any of the other stands, Kyrgyzstan, or all those other countries that end with stand. We would buy them, and then the Air Force would fly them in.
What movie is that? It's about basically like what you're talking about. Damn it. There's two guys in it, and the one they're like really good friends, but the one guy's a lot crazier than the other one, and he talks them into doing these deals, and they're basically doing military deals where they're buying you know, different types of loadouts and then selling them to military, you know, and they wind up like getting into like millions of dollars and all kinds of stuff. It winds up becoming like a huge thing because they were doing a lot of it illegally. But it was really
that fat boy.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
I can't remember his name, but he's a comedian.
Yes. Yes.
I just can't remember his name.
Yes.
I don't remember. I know what movie you're talking about.
Oh, they're saying not Three Kings. That's a good movie though. Lord of War. Is that it? No.
I think they were illegal arms dealers. Both of them were comedians. I can't remember the name
Lord
of it.
of War.
So this is the same. This is a photo
Lord
of that
War.
same.
No. So the Lord of War is the one with whatever his name is. I can't think of his name right now, but I know who I know this one, but it's not that one. It's a different one. That's another good one, but the one you're talking about
War Dogs. Bob just said it in there.
Yes,
War
Dogs.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good one. This photo here is that same scenario where that Afghan got shot. And so you see that
crazy. Are they must be like they don't deflate.
So I actually don't know how. I don't know how the tires work on an MRAP. I don't know if they have air or if they're hard tires. I think they're hard tires, 100% rubber. I'm not really sure. Yeah. So there's a Marine at the top of that. He's the one that when we started taking rounds from that mountains on the left, that Marine in that MRAP was the one that put down the threat. Well, I mean, I don't know if he shot the guy or if he just made him run, but you know, we're out surveying my project. And he's the one. He's guarding while we're outside of the MRAPs. This is like one of the most. The two most dangerous times, other than like recon and infantry Marines who have to go inside of the cities. The most dangerous times is when you get out of an MRAP, or when you roll up to a new city. Because when you roll up to a city, they're throwing rocks at you, and none of those are threats. So you have to take it. So if kids are throwing rocks, adults are throwing rocks,
and they're always doing it.
It just depends on the city.
Yeah.
And so you always are shooting dogs because dogs are dangerous.
Well, I was going to ask you that actually. I had it written down. Do they use dogs like we do?
No, they don't use them as in like to aggressive towards us, but we smell different than they do. And so whenever we get around dogs out there, a lot of them are aggressive. And so, you know, a lot of times you just have to shoot them because it's just like, am I going to let myself get bit by this dog? And I'm
shoot them. Could have rabies.
Yeah, exactly. But you can see them intermix with the crowd, and
I love dogs. I'd shoot
exactly.
them in a fucking heartbeat.
Yep. So that happened pretty often.
So when you do like with the firefight, do you go? I know you said you didn't know if dude got hit or not, but do you guys ever, after getting into a firefight, go and look to see if the person was hit or dead or just got away? Do you guys ever like, you know?
So what happens is so my MOS in the Marine Corps was a contracting officer, but I was curried around by infantry Marines. I was taken around by infantry Marines. And
Okay.
depending on where the threat was, they would go do a survey because they have to write a report. Whenever you shoot rounds in if you shoot rounds in theater, some butter bar lieutenant or some captain has to write a report.
Okay.
Because you know, you may get a combat action ribbon. And when you go to theater, if you shoot your weapon, you get a combat action ribbon, which means that you actually shot your weapon while you were in Iraq or Afghanistan. But someone has to write a report about that. So it depended on where we were, we would go survey to see if we actually took the threat down. But most times we didn't. We would just wrote what happened and we would evac or whatever the case may be.
Right. I guess if you were already getting out of there, you know, and you didn't plan on staying, like if you had a lot of work to do, I guess you'd probably want to go check maybe.
Yeah, so we were towards the end of our visit, and I was out there surveying the progress for the guard shack and also surveying to see had they started digging up mines. These are a bunch of guys that were about to be mine diggers as well.
So you still do this type of stuff, right?
So now what I do is I audit contracts. So I started off as a young Marine writing contracts. Now what I do is I audit contracts. I go to places like Boeing, Lockheed Martin. I'm traveling tomorrow to go audit another defense contractor. And I just go make sure that they're following the contract. So taxpayers are paying for the contract. We want to make sure that they're not cheating. And I go check their work, if that makes sense.
Dog one, I see what you said about dominating a dog with a boot. When you're talking about a pack of dogs, right? Because listen, I'm a dog trainer. I trained dogs for years. I understand their nature very, very well. I've actually been attacked many times by dogs. And most of the time, yeah, I'd say that I could easily submit a dog with no problem. But when you're talking about a pack of dogs in a location, like he said, where they smell you differently, that's a completely different nature. They already feel dominant over you, and there's multiple of them. You don't know what diseases they have, what infections they have, or anything like that. It's just not worth it. The time that it could take, right, to deal with that and possibly deal with his buddies jumping in and all that shit is just not worth it. Put him down, get rid of it, because like you said, they treat him, or like who was a dentist said, they treat them like shit over there. Those dogs are not treated well already, and of course nobody wants to shoot the dog, but we're talking about a human over a dog.
Yep.
No question.
And that's the thing, it's just like, you know, when we roll up here, there's kids throwing rocks, there's adults yelling at us, there's some adults that are making no moves. You don't know if they have a weapon on you.
Yeah,
so the last thing we don't have to worry about is a dog being aggressive.
Right, you already have to worry about fucking human.
And another thing is, if we got the okay to shoot a dog, that also let the crowd know that we were willing to shoot our weapons.
That's yeah. It's better to shoot the dog than the human, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though I do like dogs sometimes more than some people.
We did a lot of stupid shit too. This is a photo of us in Morocco. We landed in Morocco in Africa, and we immediately got stuck. So we had to yank ourselves out. But we had a helicopter that crashed, and they had to fly me in to actually write a. What happens? They flew me in. And no, they didn't fly me in. They brought me in. We have hovercrafts in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And so we take a hovercraft out the back of a Navy ship and we go over the water. And when we land on the beach, this is the back of the ramp of the hovercraft. And we roll our vehicles off and we got stuck in the sand. Well,
hovercraft works on the water and on land.
Yeah. It works on both. And so when we landed, we had a MV-22 that crashed. And when it crashed, we had to do an investigation to see what happened. But Marines were pissing in the desert. I mean, we're Marines, we don't care. Right, but the Moroccans were very upset about that. So they flew me in, they brought me in on the hovercraft to actually write some contracts for Porta Johns. The Moroccans were not happy that we were pissing in it. Even, I mean, look at it, it's a desert. Who would care if we're out there pissing? But they really cared. So
it seems like the plants could use the water.
Yeah, but they were really butthurt about that. So that's
weird.
Otherwise, there would have been no reason for me to go here. But
that's the only reason why you went
to Morocco also was there for other reasons, but the main reason they brought me on shore that day was for that one. So this vehicle here, we were about to get ready to leave the wire, as I mentioned earlier. So the MRAPs that you saw are smaller. This is called a jungle vehicle, and it might be hard to see, but they're longer MRAPs and they have big windows and they can seat up to 12 people. MRAPs can only seat 4 people plus the gunner, so 5.
Okay.
But these can seat up to 12, and they put me in the back of a jungle vehicle.
That vehicle you were trapped with in the previous picture, how long were you guys stuck for? How long did it take to get help?
So this green tow truck here, we brought that from the ship, and he yanked them out. So he was probably stuck for an hour because They didn't know we were going to need the tank, the tow truck, for lack of a better term, until he got stuck. We thought we were just going to be able to drive around like normal.
So how fast is the response if you get yourself into some shit and you need assistance?
It depends. So in the Marine Corps, just like other services, we have a QRF, which is called a quick reaction force. Right. Those are the Marines who flew me out of Jordan. Mm-hmm. They actually came, I don't know what country they came from, but when I was in Spain, we had QRF Marines, and the purpose of QRF Marines are to be put on a helo to fly into a country and to evac people or to engage in a firefight immediately. So when I was in Jordan, I grew an afro, I grew a beard, I was blending in. I never wore my uniform. Yeah, on purpose. Yeah. But when I had to evac, they flew in and took me out. So that took about an hour. I don't know what country they came from. So it just really depends on where they're coming from and how big the situation is.
Have you ever seen I'm looking up I'm trying to find it. It's with Leonardo, Body of Lies. Have you ever seen that movie, Body of Lies, with Leonardo DiCaprio? You should watch it. It's a really good video. It's about Leonardo DiCaprio, and they're over in Afghanistan, and they're trying to stop, terrorists and stuff. But he has to learn the language, and actually they have to think that he's actually like one of them to some extent, right? It's really good. He actually learned, I don't know how good he learned the language, but it seems like he speaks it pretty good. That guy can act really well. That was one role that when I watched it, man, it really showed me like because he's played a lot of good roles, and that's one he really he did a good job on. But that's a good movie because it's like there's the head guy who's basically like the guy who tells him where to go and what to do, and he's almost like careless in a way. And the other guy, he's there with the people, so he knows some of these people. He cares about some of these people, like it's not like they're just like, a nothing, right? Because somebody who's in another country just, pointing down at a map, it's going to be a lot different than the person sitting there talking face to face with the people. But it's a really good movie. Anybody who's in here, go watch it. Damn good movie.
What is it called again? Let me write it down.
Body of Lies.
Okay. Body of Lies. So yeah, everywhere that I went, I had the same translator. And the thing about him is the reason why a lot of people were pissed at Biden in the whole evac situation is because a lot of those translators were with us for over a decade. They would just, I would redeploy back to the States, but the same translator will be there for the next Marine to translate.
And when you guys leave, they're fucked.
So the thing, and a lot of them were promised, I don't know how valid it was, but they were promised that when we pulled out, that they could, possibly apply for a green card, right, and so forth and so on. And we evac so quick that we left a lot of them, which, it does kind of suck. But I think that if you become a translator out there, you kind of understand that, hey, we're promised you that shit, but it may or may not happen. But so some translators got freaking executed after we left.
Of course they did.
They worked with us for over a decade. Yeah.
And that sucks, man. And I really, I know this is a completely different situation, but even like from our country standpoint, like I'm the type of guy like your word is your bond, So like if you make an oath to something, or if you make a deal or something like that, like you have to stand on that, regardless win or lose or whatever's going to happen. You have to stand on that. So
it's just so hard too, because it's hard because a lot of those promises, like the guy that was my translator, he started working when Bush was the president, and so in theory, the Bush administration made the promise, right? And so but we evac so quick, he's there for 4 presidents, and he's kind of like, I don't know what happened to that guy. I don't talk to him. So, so that's the type of shit, the risk that they're taking.
Yeah, that's tough, man. That's so tough.
This is post Marine Corps at my hunting property.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So this.
How many hogs do you get a year?
So I don't eat pork or beef.
You just get rid of them for extermination purposes?
Or I'll shoot a hog for a buddy. I miss pork and beef. Don't get it twisted. I just stopped eating it because I thought it looked fat. And so I just stopped eating it.
Okay, but, so it's only about the fat content?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with
purposes or anything?
No. I still cook it for my family, all the other shit.
Yeah,
but
I love pork, man.
Yeah. So here in Texas, like hog are nuisance animals. So all you need is a hunting license. You could just put them down. I normally put them down for the fox, which are also nuisance animal. Coyotes are nuisance animals as well. But if someone wants us to process a hog, I will do it. But I normally will make them pay me because hogs have a lot of ticks on them. So I have to wait for the ticks to die, or I have to just process it if the ticks don't die. And, you know, you can't get anything from the ribs because although hogs look fat in the wild, the ribs they're not really viable. So you're mostly getting the hams, you're getting lats and stuff like that, and shoulder meat and stuff like that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just a headache. I would rather process a deer.
Yeah. I could see that, but I know you guys are dealing with some huge issues with the hogs out there. They breed so fast. I think they can start breeding at 3 or 6 months old or something like that. Like it's like really young when they can start breeding, and then I think they can have 3 litters a year or something.
Yeah. A lot of times if you put down a sow, she still may have piglets inside of her because she just some of them were stillbirths or whatever. But only time I figure that out if I have to cut one open if I'm for whatever reason. But normally I don't have to do that.
So do you, because I heard somebody else saying this the other day, I think it was on Joe Rogan. They were talking about the hogs, you know, in Texas and how they're so populated. So they were talking about why don't they, because it's because if you take hogs and you put them somewhere, it's kind of like what happened to Texas, they're just going to start breeding and start growing. Why don't we take some of these to places where they are low on resources of meat and low on resources of food and drop them there and let them breed, or possibly kill them here and bring them there? I don't know if that would be a viable thing, but
well, see, hogs are so the reason that there are so many hogs is because they're not stupid, right? And so like yeah, like if you roll up on a sounder or a hog, it's super rare that you roll up on a sounder or a hog. Most of the time they roll up on you. So if you stay in a deer stand until the middle of the night, you're going to hear them oinking like a pig. You can hear them coming. And you know, so but even when they start running, so in this picture I'm holding the AR-10, which is you know, I was shooting 308. It can shoot 7.62, but I was shooting 308. And even that magazine only can hold 10 rounds. I have a 30-round mag, but I had a smaller one loaded because I'm not going to shoot a lot. But once a sounder hog starts to run, you might hit 3 of them. They're fast.
Did you hit them from the stand back there?
That stand back there is where I hit this buck from. Yeah. Which is about,
nice.
I think it's probably like 150 meters away.
Yeah. Your guys' deers, I think, are smaller than ours. I think
way smaller. Way smaller. My mom lives in Cleveland still, and she'll have a 12-point buck in her front yard, which she can't shoot it because she's in the city limits. Way bigger than anything I'll ever see.
Yeah, I lived on a right next to like a nature preserve, and it hooked up to a ravine that hooked up behind my house. So every night I would hear the coyotes coming in. When I first bought the property, you could tell what was happening was the coyotes had learned nobody lived in this property because it got repossessed. And it was just like falling apart. And the backyard was all closed in. So once you were in the property, there was no getting out, and the coyotes learned it and were chasing deers back there and killing them. So the entire yard, the grass was like up to your hips. But when we started cutting it all down, deer carcasses were everywhere.
All over the place.
My dog was coming out with spines and like just I was freaking out, throwing it down the ravine, like, get rid of it. And then she'd just go grab another one, come right back, like on a skull or something.
And they're all over the place. So I just shared a photo. I don't know if you have to re-show the screen, but I showed this hog here. So like this hog I processed for a buddy. Now she was a sow that was in a cage, and I shot her in her forehead with a 45. It bounced off her skull and she stayed alive.
How close?
So that's how I was 3 feet away.
Yeah. Okay. I figured.
So I had to walk behind her and shoot her behind her ear. But that's why you want a knife in that situation, because in the cage, they're super aggressive, but you can still hit them with a knife. And, but you hang them from a tree to let them freeze overnight and let all of the ticks die.
Is that how it works? Overnight, the ticks will die from being on the carcass?
Yeah, because her body's no longer maintaining heat because she's dead. And so the ticks just jump off.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Hey.
Yep. So this was the day that I had a titanium, that V-knives on me, and I went to cut her buttocks out. And
this is the one that got you?
Yeah. Yep. So that's when I don't really carry titanium knives, having blood on me from that time. And she also had 3 piglets inside of her as well that were stillbirths.
I know you probably prefer fixed blade, but what do you prefer for handle materials for out hunting and stuff? G10.
I prefer G10, and so Montana Knife Company sent me 2 knives. They sent me the Blackfoot, and they sent me the Speed Goat, and I took those with me, and they're so incredible. They're Magna Cut. They're just really good. Up until that point, I was carrying an SC number 4, and I was carrying a Benchmade Bushcrafter, which were decent. And Benchmade was a little thick, like the tang on it, like the blade was just super thick. It was hard to do precision cuts
for sure.
But when I got that MKC, that's when I really started to enjoy it. But I don't like to carry that around all day long because I don't want to use a knife that I use on a carcass inside the house. Like if I want to cut, if I want to cut my sandwich, I don't want to accidentally use the same knife. So
for sure,
that's why we bring multiple knives with us.
There's a company, I can't think of the name of it, man. I feel bad because they did send me knives, but they make replaceable bladed knives, and they have multiple different blade shapes and hook blades and things like that you can put in, and it's for hunting. That's what they're basically for. So that's a good idea because you can just reblade it. You take the blade out, put a new one in. You always have a sharp blade. That's a good idea. So we're getting to the end of the show here. I do want to say that if I ever have anything on the channel or anything in the collection that you want to check out or have, just let me know. I'll send it your way.
Okay.
I got more than enough, so I'm very happy to help out however I can. You don't have to send it back or whatever. Break it, do whatever you want with it.
Okay. But appreciate that.
You want to give everybody your information real quick? I did link your YouTube page down in the description for anybody that wants to easily find it. I'll put the Instagram and everything down there right after this. Do you want to just tell them where to find you and stuff like that?
Yeah, most definitely. First off, Blade Walker, man, I appreciate the love, man. I see you in chat, and everybody else we're saying hello in chat. I appreciate. I'm not ignoring you. I just, I appreciate all that y'all were saying.
Yeah, let me answer that real quick because I decided to do this show where we were just going to have a discussion, right? Normally, I do speak to the chat and to the guest, but sometimes it can be interfering.
Hard,
and it feels rude sometimes. So I decided on this one to answer super chats. I should have said this from the beginning. Answer super chats, but just to have a discussion with you and let people join, in hearing it.
Right. No, that makes sense. I know a lot of folks. If on YouTube, if you just type Marine X in the search box, I should pop up. Hopefully,
you do.
And so you can find me there, and I just talk about EDC stuff, and I don't really dive into knives as deep as Jared does, but I like to talk about man cave stuff, survival stuff, prep stuff, and EDC, and just a mixture, basically man shit. If you like that type of stuff, more than welcome to come kick the door in and hang out. I normally live stream on Mondays. I call it Man Cave Mondays, where we kind of shoot the shit. And then during the week, I do vertical live streams where I just talk. I may give a lesson about something like tomorrow, like maybe later tonight or tomorrow, I'll be doing a live stream over flashlights and why I like them and what type you should carry and shit like that. And so if you like that type of shit, man, come holler at your boy. And any questions you have, you're more than welcome to come at me and all that good stuff.
Before we close this out, what were you carrying today?
So I had the Buck 112 Pro.
Oh, yeah, you pulled it out. Okay.
Yeah, I had that. And I guess what else is in my pocket is
freaking the Mannix Rex 45, of course.
Oh, my God.
Carrying this thing for a while. I freaking love this thing.
So a lot of times here at the house, even though it's not really required, I will carry a multi-tool because of the shit I have to do around this house.
Yeah,
you have 5 house. Kids. Yep, exactly. I modified this Leatherman Free P4 and I put a full-size bit driver in it. So that just lets me load 1/4 size bits.
Oh, nice.
Versus not being able to load bits at all. And I also put a full-size diamond file in here. So if I had to do anything like that in there. So that kept me from buying the Leatherman Art because I had a lot of FOMO. I really wanted that shit. But I ended up doing that. And also I had the key bar system, which I'm a big fan of their shit, which is what I use to kind of hold my keys.
Okay. Yeah, I got a couple of the key bars. I want to put I got one with all kinds of parts. I need to put it together.
Right.
Good stuff, man. They make great stuff.
Yep.
USA made too.
Yep. And around the house, I normally just carry a smaller flashlight. Looking under couches, being the hero of the moment, right?
Yeah.
Finding my freaking kids. So I have the Olight one eye, the I1 R2 Pro, which is just like a little 80. It goes from 15 lumens up to like I think 80 lumens, which is just a nice little flashlight, especially when you're in joggers or shit to be able to use or whatever. And then my wallet is the Wingback Cash wallet, which is a UK company, which they make some phenomenal products, which I've been carrying for a while. So I'm a big fan of this as well. So that's kind of what I've been rocking.
On the wall? Is that a button or buckle or?
Yeah. So you choose what closure you want. It's a button. That's a steel. I think mine's steel, but you can get brass or copper, whatever you want. I also got my name put on the front.
Nice.
And but they're UK. They're really known for their leather goods and shit like that. So.
Oh yeah, very cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, most definitely.
Just so everybody knows, I'm actually going to be jumping on his live stream here pretty soon. We're going to set up a day for that. So that'd be really awesome. I'll make sure I make a post and let you guys know when that's going to happen. Hey, man, thank you again for joining. And guys, thank you guys for all joining. I do appreciate it. And yeah, peace.
I appreciate it, man. Catch you later.